They're roadside assistance. And I call, and it's about an hour, and nobody comes. And then I call the tow truck driver. I actually called the tow truck company. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're trying to assign somebody to you. But the company or whatever that they're using is also contracted to do other stuff. It was so fucking irritating.
You don't have AAA, man?
I do. Yeah, I do. But by that point, I was, I was so stupid I had called them. So I wind up just driving. I was about a mile from home, and I just drove home on the tire because you can drive.
No.
They say you get 50 miles. So then I parked in my garage, and now I got to go after the show, I think, to take it to a dealership. But I have to drive about 10 miles.
You can drive 50 miles on a flat tire?
On a run flat, yeah. They say you can. On a run flat tire, you can drive 50 miles.
I don't know what a run flat is.
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, what's a run flat?
I know what a donut is. I thought that's what you can
drive.
No, he means the tire's still flat. Like you're driving home
on a flat tire.
You can't drive on a flat tire.
A run flat tire, you can drive. That's what it is. It's a tire that you can do close to 50 miles on. I mean, you could do up to 50 miles an hour. Look it up, a run flat tire. But I panicked and I was like, I can't. But then I'm like, hey, fucking asshole, you have a run flat, just drive home. And I did, and it was. You can still feel that it's not 100%, but it didn't feel like you got to drive slow. I'm not going to do 50. I don't care if it says you can.
You could drive 50 miles an hour? What is a run flat?
50 miles, up to 50 miles an hour. It's a tire that...
My Honda does not have these.
When they're flat, but they're harder when you hit bumps. They hit bumps harder because I guess that they're made differently, obviously.
Are these just your regular tires?
These are normally my tires. Yeah, these are what I have.
He's got fancy tires.
So when they get, that's why you didn't notice that you had a flat because you were on a run flat.
No,
these are
just happened.
These are liberal elite. These are liberal elite tires.
They are. Yeah,
that's right.
Yes,
that's right.
These are Epstein tires.
These are deep state tires.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
The cops are chasing you, and they put down a fucking strip. You can do 50 miles with your flat tire and your victim.
Yeah, a run flat tire is a pneumatic vehicle tire that is designed to resist the effects of deflation when punctured and to enable the vehicle to continue to be driven at reduced speeds, under 56 miles an hour, and for limited distances, generally between 10 miles to 50 miles, depending on the type of tire. Yeah, okay, that's why the rest of us... coach travelers were so we were that's how broke all the rest of us are. We were looking at you like, what the hell are you talking about?
But I never even heard
of this. I've never heard of a run flat tire.
But you guys didn't say that at first. I said run flat tires, and you guys were like, oh, okay. So I just figured that they were standard. But that's why I don't have a spare, because they figure a spare is good for 50 miles.
One, yeah.
And right. But I parked overnight, so I'm hoping. But then again, the air's already out of it, so I'm sure it's no worse for wear than it was.
Yeah, you should be fine.
Well, yeah,
speaking as someone who just learned about run tires, I'm saying you should be fine.
I
run flat tires.
Run flat.
Yeah, run tires.
Run flat tires. It's not run
tires.
tire.
Bad with cars.
I am too, actually.
It's embarrassing.
I forgot that I had one.
A car.
Run flat tire, I
mean. Yeah, I finally had to learn how to switch a tire the last time I got a flat tire, because I don't know if it was the first time I got a flat tire, but one of the, obviously the first time I've had a flat tire since I've known you guys. I call USAA, and like when you call USAA, AAA, any of those services, like some of the roads in New York are technically private roads.
Yeah.
And you call them and they go, well, that's a private road, so we can't go on that road. And I'm like, well, what do I have this for then? And and then, you try to call them, but it's like 4:00 in the morning. So I did at one point end up calling 911, and it was fiasco, and we went over it.
Humiliating.
But then it's humiliating. The second time I got a flat tire was not my fault. That time, a bus turned into my car and just blew the tire into smithereens. And so I was on the side of the West Side Highway, and I was like, okay. And I called, that time I just called service, and it was the same thing. Oh, we're going to try to get somebody out to you. But that's the time that Pete Dominic, who used to work here, showed up behind me, and he was like, hey man, you want me to fix this? And I was like, yeah, Pete, why don't I be your lookout and you fix my tire for me?
I don't know what's more humiliating.
Yeah, no, that's as a man.
You were tire cucked. Tire cucked.
I was. Yeah. So then the last time it happened, like it was the same thing. It was similar to you, Jim. It was like I was outside my gym and I parked next to a small. It's not a wall. It's just like they use bricks to like the parking space goes uphill a little bit and there's bricks next to it. So, but they go in stairs almost. So it's it's like one layer, one brick, 2 bricks, 3 bricks, 4 bricks. Yeah. Oh. So,
you should chew bricks for that. Or you hurled at you.
So I rolled over the bricks and I was like, no big deal, not even thinking to myself that obviously the corners of the bricks are exposed when you do it stairs like that. But I didn't care. And I went in, I went to the gym, and I came back out, and I started the car up, and I got the old 0 tire pressure on the tire that had rolled over the bricks, and it was raining, and I was like, oh, no. But that's the time I got one other person to help me, but we just looked up on YouTube and got the car up and switched the tire out and put the spare on and did the whole thing.
How long did it take you?
I mean, it took a while, but it also took a while because you have to find the right spot on the car, like, to get the jack on, and then you realize that the jack that the Wrangler came with doesn't lift the car high enough because the tires are too big.
Well, there's a Wrangler driving it too.
What kind of a Wrangler? Yeah.
What, the rump variety?
So I had to walk to a service station, which luckily was close by, and get a real professional jack to get the car up.
They let you borrow their jack?
Yeah, I was like a few doors down. They were just like, I mean, this is the suburbs, Jim. Everybody loves everybody.
Wow.
It's the best Chester. Yeah, and so I just went in and borrowed their jack and got the car up and got the lug nuts off. But I have never heard. I think we should all be a little bit humiliated to realize that in the grand scheme of life, none of us have achieved anywhere near what we should have because none of us realized that run flat tires. I was looking. Troy was like, yeah, no, Jim, that's no good. Mike was like, I don't know about that. Travis was like, what are you, nuts? I was like, huh? And then
you're stupid Jim with another thing he doesn't know.
Yeah, and you were like, you guys, it's a thing. It's called a run flat tire. And I was like, huh.
Yeah, I did it for just this reason. Like, I don't know how to change a tire, but also you don't ever want to be stuck where you have to pull over in a bad situation.
Great. I know. It sounds amazing. I didn't even know that the technology existed for them. This is very 2020.
Yeah, I've had them for about a year and a half, I guess. This is the first flat I've gotten with them. But, I mean, the tire is flat. So I'm hoping I can get to this Mercedes dealership. It's a few miles.
Should be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so.
It looks like I was saying how great the technology is. It's very 2020. It looks like 1972 is when they really started to develop this technology. Yeah,
I don't think I've ever had them before this car.
But run flat tires accounted for less than 1% of replacement tire sales in 2005 and 2006. I mean, they're clearly only used on luxury vehicles. They must be very expensive. Is it very expensive to replace one?
They are, yeah, but I think I have insurance on them. Like, I think I got an insurance, so because I leased the car. But I might have had them on my last car too. I think I've actually had them for on my last couple of cars. Now that I think of it, I don't get flats that often. I don't remember, but I very rarely need them. But I'm happy I got them now.
Yeah, it's a good fail-safe. I mean, the fact that you can drive an extra 10 to 50 miles on a flat, I'd say that's helpful.
It is, yeah, just to get you where you need to go. I'm so happy I did that.
Which would also explain why Travis and the rest of us were like, you didn't feel it? Because for the rest of us, when we get a flat, we're basically driving on our hubcap and a thin layer of torn up rubber under it.
No, but I did, you could feel it once the thing happened. All of a sudden, you could feel the difference when you're driving it. So luckily, I wasn't driving for long on it because that light came on. So it might have been deflating for a little while. But by the time the warning light came on, I was going really slow.
You don't know how it happened? You just maybe a pothole or something?
Do you know, I can remember earlier hitting, slamming into a couple of tush, tush, like those, because they're harder tires. So when you hit a pothole, you feel it even more. It's very jarring. But no, I don't know when it happened, to be honest with you. But it must have been pretty recent, or I fucking obviously if it wasn't very recent, I would have noticed that warning light a lot sooner.
And what did it sound like when it happened?
When it popped, it was like. No, there was no sound. It was just a red warning.
I just like that when I asked, like, how did it happen? You're like, I was driving and it was like, doosh, doosh.
Oh, well, that's what those fucking potholes feel like when you hit them in that tire.
Totally.
It doesn't have the same cushion. So it's almost like they can burst. I hope I wish maybe get a call from somebody who knows about these things, because I'm really hoping that it is okay to drive into a dealership and just get it fixed. Because I'm like, I don't want to get towed out of a fucking garage, which I couldn't do anyway. I'd have to drive up to the top.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. Brian in Boston on line 2 has a question. What's up, Brian?
Sam, you said you have USAA insurance, but you have to be a military member or work for the Department of Justice to have that. Are you stolen valoring for car insurance?
You know, they say that you have to, but if you just go into the office and you're wearing a uniform with some medals on it, they'll give you the insurance.
Yep.
All right, and a fancy discount, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, it's great. It's amazing.
Just act like you got hurt. Like, walk in and go like, hey, I'd like some insurance because I hurt my leg over there in Fallujah. They'll be like, I'll be happy to help you. Just act like... You don't have to say it was in a war. You can imply. Soldiers like that, though. They like the fact that they fought, and they're like, they do it, and when you put on a uniform and you get the discount, they're happy for you. And like, that's what I did it for.
Yeah, it's almost like it's not stolen valor as much as it is like cosplaying soldiers.
Sure. Tributing.
I mean, Mike, you get that, right? And plus I know it's like we did hire Mike Montone, who did fight for our country. So that does also, count towards, if I want to wear a uniform to get insurance.
Yeah, part of our service that you're thanking us for is allowing everyone to have great banking and insurance and investment services. It's a lifetime of service.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you for your service, Sam.
No, you got it. Now, you can also, if you are the offspring of somebody who served, that service is also open to you. But if you can get your hands on a pretty good, I mean, it can't be like a Party City uniform. It has to look pretty good, but you can usually find them. It's usually okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a couple of good uniforms.
You got to, right? Sometimes it's like, look, even if it comes to parking, like generally you're not going to get a parking ticket if you come out of your car and you got a police uniform on, and you kind of give them the nod like, yep, me and you, buddy. It's just helpful in a lot of ways. It's helpful in a lot of ways.
You know who's crazy? People who impersonate police officers. Like, did you ever read stories about someone who impersonated a cop and pulled someone else over? And you're like, what a nut! Like what do you when you put on a police uniform and you get a light for your car? I get the temptation just to make someone pull over. Like, I'd love to have one just to go in traffic. But when you actually get out of your car and talk to someone like you're a cop, does it ever occur to you that you're a nut? You're fucking nuts if you're doing that. First of all, it's illegal. But second of all, it's just a crazy person thing to do. To put on a police uniform and actually get out and close your door and walk and tell someone something in their car. How fucking insane you have to be to do that.
Especially when it really is just the entire end game is just a role play operation. Like, you just want to act like a police officer and convince this person. There's no other thing. But, you always see that in those stolen valor videos when guys show up in uniform to military funerals and stuff like that. And you watch their face as they can't answer the simple questions that soldiers are asking them. They just want to be in the club so bad.
Well, some of those guys, when you listen to them, they have a certain knowledge about the military. There was one guy in the mall who got this is the famous one where the soldier's girlfriend eventually is like, okay, come on, let's just go. Where the guy's like, I'm going to have lunch with my major. It's just such nonsense. And the soldier nailed him. But this guy knew enough. And a lot of these guys know enough because they read enough about it, where they can answer almost a second and third level deep questions. Like you have to be like, I couldn't nail them. You have to be a soldier or a guy who really knows 3 and 4 and 5 level deep questions to nail these guys. And this guy was very good. Like he knew a lot. He was answering all the questions in what sounded like reasonable ways, but then he would make little mistakes. You know, no, your patch is supposed to be on this arm. Like maybe it's shit that he should have known. I don't know. Mike, could you bust one of those guys? Like, would you, as an ex-soldier, would you know enough to just nail a guy on his uniform?
Yeah, the uniform stuff is like glaring because there's an actual uniform manual that tells you like exactly how far ribbons are supposed to be from a seam. I mean, everything is to a T. Like you have inspections on a pretty frequent basis where they make you wear the uniform so that they can see that you're doing it right. If your rank insignia is all fucked up, someone will come and correct you. I have no desire to, though. Like if I see some guy who's probably on the fucking spectrum wearing a national uniform out of regs at the mall, like I don't have fucking time for that in my life to go, give him shit. I find more annoying is like dudes at bars who give you well, I was gonna join, or I went to boot camp and then I rolled my ankle, and it's like there's always the guy who has a million reasons why he could have. But then ultimately, that's fun.
I'll tell you, Mike, I was going to serve, and I went in, but I found out it wasn't for me. It just wasn't my thing. So, but
honestly,
I'm with you.
Yeah. I wanted to serve, but then I realized I'm a coward, and I'm not going to do that.
That's essentially what that says. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was at the recruiting office. I was with them for like a month. We were going on runs, and then my mom said I couldn't. Like, you were 19. I don't know. Your fucking mom said you couldn't.
Yeah, you're an adult.
Yeah, here's the thing. You're more of a man than me, so I couldn't handle the hardship, but you could. So that's really my story here that I'm telling you. It's like, what are we having this conversation about? This is...
Yeah, it's just a verbal kind of playing out of their own insecurities about whatever they thought they were going to do with their life and then did.
Yeah. DMX got arrested once for impersonating he impersonated an FBI agent. That was probably my favorite one. That I guess he might have not been in the best position to make decisions because he was arrested at the same time the charges were impersonating an FBI agent and also possession of crack cocaine.
Oh,
so that
one.
Yeah. Some of them. It was like in 2004 or something like that. It's such a weird story. Because I guess there was somebody that he said was trying to steal cars in I think the JFK like long-term parking lot that he was in. And so he grabbed him and beat him up, and he said he was a federal agent. And then he beat him up. And then he tried to leave, and they stopped him at the gate, and he said, well, just let me through, I'm a federal agent. And they were like, no, we're not going to let you through, so he busted through the gate. And then they got him, and because he said, I'm a federal agent, he not only he also had illegal weapons, I think. Oh. But it was crack cocaine and illegal weapons. And then the federal agent made it so he was also impersonating an officer. But I would imagine that was very difficult for DMX because in 2004, it's very, very famous. So I would think that he'd be like, I'm a federal agent. Yeah. And like if he said that to me, I'd be like, you're clearly DMX.
Sure. Wonder if, how much time did he get for that?
I'm looking at an article. I just found an article. He's $15,000 was his bail. I don't know. He got a couple years, I think. Like maybe not. Maybe not for this one. It says he was ordered to pay $240,000 after impersonating an FBI agent. Yeah. They began hearing his trial. Fine. It looks like, he just had to pay the fine of $240,000 for impersonating the agent. He might have gotten jail time for the crack cocaine. I don't know, but
he was given jail time for something else.
Yeah, he was given a conditional discharge in 2004, pleaded guilty in 2005 to violating parole, which he was then sentenced to 70 days in jail for.
That was 70 days. Okay.
Yeah.
So the whole fiasco of impersonating an FBI agent and illegal weapons and crack cocaine, he ended up not doing jail time for, but then he violated his probation, so he had to go to jail anyway.
God, he's been arrested a lot.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot going on.
Times have been tough for the Dark Man X.
Yeah.
Dark Man X. Well, he does have you out bouncing again.
Yes, he does. Didn't you go to some sort of sale at his place where he was selling off old shit and you bought like old DVDs of his or something?
I did. It was because he's from Yonkers, I think. YO. Yeah, or at least he had a place or something. It was here in Westchester though. And there were rumors, amongst the Westchester people that DMX was having a yard sale. I was like, what? And then so I started like doing my research and figuring out what town it was in and everything. And I found flyers for it. I was like, this can't be real. And
did it say his name on them?
Yeah. Yeah, it's at DMX's yard sale. I was like, okay, I'm going. And I showed up. And DMX's name is Daryl Simmons. And I showed up and I was like, holy shit. I pulled up to this house and the gate is wide open, but the gate says DS on it, which I'm assuming stood for Daryl Simmons.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is it. And I went in and like the flyer said that there'll be shoes and jackets and cars. And I was like, oh my God. And the first thing I saw was the cars, but I didn't realize he has a model and toy car collection. It was not actual automobiles that you could drive. It was tiny.
Well, that's better because you could
cars.
afford them. You could afford them. What are you going to do? Buy one of his real cars?
No, I know. I don't even know if I bought anything. I should have. I regret it now because he had a whole bunch of like a collection of toy cars, and then he had a ton of very lightly worn Timberlands in every color you could imagine. Every color of the rainbow in Timberlands, very lightly worn. And then a whole coat rack of XXL leather patchwork jackets.
Wow. They sound
like
awful.
big, giant, with all different colors. But it was his jackets. It was like Rough Rider jackets and all jackets from the era, which those I do wish. I mean, I was broke at the time. I know.
How many people were there?
Not a lot.
Oh, it wasn't crowded.
There's maybe 4 people when I went.
Oh, wow.
Like it was not, it didn't turn into a thing. It was just, it was like a regular yard sale, except it happened to be at DMX's house. And I do wish I had scrapped together some money and gotten one of those Rough Riders jackets. Because, I don't know, if I had a Rough Riders jacket in my house, I feel like people would be like, yeah, you're the man. Like Troy, if you came over and I was like, this is DMX's Rough Riders jacket, you'd think I was the man, yes?
I would think that was pretty awesome. Every time I came over, I'd be like, can you show me the Rough Riders jacket again?
Yeah. I mean, if I had real money, I would just buy everything and set up like a Graceland type museum in my house. But for DMX. For DMX, yeah. Yeah, I've had a couple run-ins with him. I was going to a mall in White Plains, New York, and we were pulling up. It was like Christmas time, and it wasn't the nicest mall in the world, but we were driving there, and we were like 1 block away, and this giant Cadillac Escalade with spinning rims pulled up next to us, like almost like muscling us off the road, like the type of thing where you just have to let them go, like you can't drive alongside them. And it's like, who the hell is driving that? And we get to the mall, and everybody in the mall is going crazy because we find out DMX is there doing his Christmas shopping, and that was his car that it almost muscled us off the road. And they were yelling out exactly what Dark Man! And he was nice. He was taking pictures with people. Yeah.
I wouldn't know him if he walked in the room. Like, I know the name. By the way, there's been 2 DMXs, unless I'm crazy. There was a DMX who was with a guy named Just Ice in the late 80s. And that's who I always think. Is this the same guy? Because he would have to be old. I mean, there might only be one.
Let's see. I'm looking up Just Ice. There was
Just Ice was a rapper.
No, it's a different
80s.
DMX.
Oh, it is
Human
different.
DMX. Human DMX was the name of your DMX. It was Just Ice featuring Human DMX. And then the new DMX came in like probably 96. That's when he started kind of.
Yeah, that's what I think of every time I hear his name. Is Just Ice and how do you have the same name? What does DMX stand
I don't know.
For?
98.
DMX stands for Dark Man X.
Ah, okay. 98 what, Travis? Is when this guy came?
That's when his first album came out, yeah.
Oh, okay.
DMX was 98?
98.
Wow.
His debut album, 98.
R.I.P.
Yeah, that does happen in the rap community. Occasionally, they have to recycle names. Like, remember there was a Dr. Dre on MTV, and then of course there's the NWA Dr. Dre. So,
right, there was.
Yeah.
Right? Or no, there was
Ed Lover and Ed Lover and Dr. Dre. That was not the same Dr. Dre.
Right.
Ed Lover's Dr. Dre is not.
He works here, doesn't he?
I mean,
Ed Lover did.
I don't know if he works.
No, but Dr. Dre, like, I've seen him in the hallway a lot, I think. Or used to.
Does he call himself Dr. Dre still?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it was Yo MTV Raps was Ed Lover and Dr. Dre. I mean, he was famous too.
Fab Five Freddy first, I think.
Yeah.
Yo MTV Raps was such a terrible name for a show. Yo MTV Raps
was appropriation.
It's just a cornball, fucking white executive name.
Definitely.
Yeah. Hey y'all, country. Oh, got it. Be a Fab
But it was like the
Freddy.
first time. It was the first time rap music was on a show like that was not sort of like its own channel. Like, we'll put you over here. It was when MTV first started kind of embracing rap music in a mainstream way.
Still a terrible name. I mean, Ed Lover, Dr. Dre. I remember there was 50 Cent is not the first 50 Cent, but he's the first one in rap. I think the original 50 Cent was a real like a little guy. He was a small guy. He was apparently a shooter. He was a pretty rough guy from I think Queens. He died young, like 26. But it's weird.
Ricky Rose is certainly not the first Rick Ross.
No, of course not. No, he's not. He's not at all. And he lost the lawsuit. The real Rick Ross lost the lawsuit for this Rick taking his name.
Well, what was the lawsuit based on?
Using kind of the name and image, because it's not his name. And Rick Ross, the let's just say the seller of Good Times, said that it was, hey, look, he's using my name, and he was using it because it was the name of a drug dealer.
That's true. It's like a rapper naming themselves Escobar. Like, it's because it's the name of a drug kingpin. That's true.
It is so funny. Everyone gets in trouble these days for doing the wrong thing. Oh, hey, he did a joke 20 years ago that was inappropriate. Let's ruin his life. But meanwhile, this rapper's naming themselves after guys who have had people beheaded, and nobody has a problem with that. It's like, do you understand what Pablo Escobar did to people? Do you understand what cartel murders look like? They're awful things.
Yeah. Nas named himself Escobar for a while. Like, that was his nickname.
Yeah, because he's just a big gangster. But then it's like, that he fucking bombed a plane that had fucking families on it, and all the people that he murdered that were innocent.
We think about the good times, though.
Yeah,
you get to that's more like the end of Act 2 of the movie. We're more like end of Act 1, beginning of Act 2. That kind of sweet spot. Like when people rename themselves after these criminal figures, you're right in that sweet spot of the take it to the limit montage of Scarface. The money's coming in, nobody's gotten hurt yet, everything's cool.
Not true.
That's the part we're thinking about.
People have gotten hurt. Otherwise, they don't get to that part. You don't get to the part where the money is rolling in and where things are good. Take it to the limit, and you're smiling, waving at your tiger and your fucking wife with her fucking little hiney and her fucking Baltimore dance style. You don't get that until you've killed somebody. Or chances are you've done some horrible shit to get to that point. You don't just get to that and all of a sudden you kill people after. You got to kill people to get there. So,
we're not worried about Rebenga.
No, Rebenga was not a good person.
Rebenga!
And for a green card, you're going to carve him up real nice. But, it's just funny to me how that's why you can't take any of it seriously. That's why you can't listen to any of these people who are upset like it's a legit cause to ruin your life for doing a joke 20 years ago. Come on, fuck off. Fuck off.
Or are you gonna sign the end of cancel culture petition with J.K. Rowling's and the rest of them?
And Noam Chomsky, they want to cancel. He's
Noam
91.
Chomsky.
No, I mean, first of all, I wasn't asked to, but I would have. But it's a meaningless petition because the people who are involved in cancel culture, people who want to see you get canceled, again, it's all what's dishonest about it is that deep down, people say, oh, it's because of this, or it's appropriation, or they always find reasons why someone should be canceled. But the bottom line is the underlying gut reason of it is that people like the pile-on. And nobody will admit that they like the pile-on. Like, canceling people is never or very rarely about a legitimately awful person. Sometimes it is, but 90% of the time, it's about enjoying the feeling of swinging a hammer at somebody. And they don't want to, people don't want to admit how much they enjoy that feeling of swinging a hammer at somebody. So they're always finding legitimate reasons. So that's why they're doing it. So you're not going to get them to stop because I'm never going to say it better than Obama said it about finding purity in people and how that's not possible. Or Chappelle said it really beautifully in one of his specials, that joke about, hey, who is that? It's you. Like that great joke he did about that. I'm not going to find a better way to say that than Dave did. Didn't matter. Didn't stop a fucking thing. It didn't even slow the train down. So if you want to stop cancel culture, stop complaining to people who are doing it, because I already know why they're doing it and they're not going to stop doing it. How about companies like Disney and these other fucking companies that cave into it? They're the problem. They are the problem. It's the companies that actually fire people or oh, we're terribly sorry. If people just didn't respond to it because it's not coming from a real place, then there wouldn't be an issue. So stop complaining to the people who are crying for cancellation, because you already know why they're doing it.
I love the Disney story with James Gunn, though. How, like, you know, when you look at how that whole thing panned out, like, he got canceled for some dumb old tweets.
Dumb jokes. Yeah, dumb tweets, yeah.
But then he didn't really get canceled. He only got temporarily canceled because people were like, wait, I don't want anybody else to direct that movie. And then Bautista and the rest of the cast was like, we're not going to work for anybody else. So in the meantime, he was like, I'll direct, what was it, Suicide Squad that James Gunn's doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the meantime, he was like, okay, if I'm not going to do Guardians of the Galaxy, I'll do Suicide Squad.
Yeah, Warner Brothers
and then
swooped in, and they're like, hey,
right,
you don't want them.
And then Disney's like, hey, man, can you come back and do this? And he was like, yeah, but I'm not going to not do Suicide Squad. So now he's doing the big franchise movies for both DC and Marvel, because they were like, yeah, no, we got carried away. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We didn't mean to fire you.
They made
such
a mistake, and they knew.
Yeah, of course,
I think from the second they did it, they knew it, because people pointed out that, like, you know, sure, these were like really, really old tweets, but he had also already gone on record apologizing and explaining, and whatever. So it's not like it was new.
No,
you know, it's not like Disney didn't know about it. It's that they buckled to no outrage. You know, like it started bubbling online, and they fired him. And then they realized, I bet they realized the day after they did it that was a big mistake. And
then they were already entrenched in it. So they're like, how do we do this? And that's the problem. It's like people who want to stop cancel culture. What you do, punish, and I don't mean people who are legitimately awful people who get caught being awful. But the majority of people who are getting canceled for whether it's old jokes or things they've disagreed with or just statements they've made that weren't 100% in line with someone's narrative, punish the companies that canceled them. You're not because the people who are complaining about it are never going to stop complaining. Punish the companies who cancel them. But see, that's the problem, is nobody ever does that. We all complain about the people who are doing the complaining. If you want to stop this shit from happening, when a company buckles, you punish the company. But nobody is organized enough to do that. No one's ever invested enough to defend your right to say something. People are always more invested in punishing you for saying it. So that's why people don't get defended for stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, because people are allowed to complain all they want. That's the whole point. But
the complaints aren't real. Let's be realistic.
Of course not.
The complaints are based in a desire to swing a hammer at somebody. And of course they'll find reasons. Well, no, yeah, well, what about? And yeah, but this is... They'll always find reasons, and they'll never want to admit that to themselves. Like, yeah, of course you're finding what you think are legitimate reasons because somebody said something once in a speech a few years ago, or there's a picture of this actor talking to that activist who is now a bad person, and all of a sudden... We get it. You live a pure, perfect life, and no one else does. We get it.
I feel like what usually happens in these waves is it starts with something legitimate. The people are like, oh, and then we can do the right thing. And then that's when people get this taste. They get a taste for the blood, like a shark.
That's right.
They get a taste for virtue, where they're like, oh, well, if I call out the bad person, then I can be the good person. And they get a taste for punishing, because they go, oh, I forgot how good it felt to just pile on somebody. And that's when it starts like, well, we're not going to stop. Now that we're not going to stop, even though we haven't solved anything with this thing that we actually had to deal with, now let's just keep going for that high. Let's just keep punishing. Let's just keep grabbing people. Maybe, I don't know, what's J.K. Rowling tweeting about today? Maybe we can get her.
It's about feeling like, again, like we're moving the needle. Because everybody feels like you have no power. Everyone feels emasculated. The world is fucking moving very quickly. I mean, we're also getting information thrown at us at a rate that human beings have never, throughout human history, in the last 10 years, we're getting information. I would love to know multiplied by how many times compared to the way the rest of human history has gotten information. So we're being overloaded with constant fucking information. So we're doing we're trying to handle it. And as a result, we're all going kind of crazy. But it's about the information. It's just it's fucking coming at you. And we're all taking it and deflecting it and bouncing this way and bouncing it that way and throwing it. Everyone is trying to kind of keep up and not get run over and steamrolled. But it's a feeling like if people get together and they get somebody fired, people feel like they've gotten something done. It's a feeling like, holy shit, I was a part of moving the needle. I was a part of making something happen. And it's a much nicer, softer version of Chop Chop Square in fucking Saudi Arabia. Everybody stands around and they watch a person get beheaded. And I know it's being punished for a criminal offense. But if you ask those people in that crowd, do you enjoy someone's head coming off? They would all go, no, it's about, but deep down, there is that animal thing where you just like watching somebody get fucked up. Nobody wants to admit that, but it's like a car accident or a fist fight. We love watching somebody get fucked up, and nobody wants to acknowledge that that's what it is. So because we can't be honest enough about who we are and say this is what it is, that shit's going to continue because no one will admit what it really is. It's like an abusive relationship or whatever. When you're both making excuses, well, no, this is why we do it. No, he just drinks and gets angry. He loves me, or whatever the fucking case is.
Yeah.
Because no one's admitting, no, he's a piece of shit. And that's what the base is. And he's not going to change. Or you're with this guy because you had a very bad childhood. That's the base of it. So acknowledge that before it changes. So if you don't acknowledge the root of what something is, it's not going to happen. And cancel culture says, well, we're getting to the roots of these things. But you're not. You're not, because there's zero forgiveness. There's zero context, zero compassion for somebody who has made a mistake. Everything is lumped thrown into the same grinder. It's all thrown into the same meat grinder of punishment. Punish, be punitive. It's weaponized altruism. It's not a real thing. It's not real caring. It's not genuine trying to make things better. It is just a desire to punish. And people won't admit that. Maybe they don't understand that about themselves. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that. It makes me feel Mike Tyson would handle this well. Because you just said, you won't just say you're a piece of shit, but Mike Tyson would. It made me want that soundbite of him just looking at the guy going, no, you're a piece of shit. And the guy going like, no, that's not really what I meant. And he goes, no, you're a piece of shit. That's what it is.
That's what it is. You're a piece of shit. Yeah.
You're a piece of shit. That's all. And that's what it is. Yeah, it's there's also this thing, like with all the information you were saying that gets thrown at you, and everybody just refreshing, and not looking up. You know what I mean? Not stopping that path. You get that emotional feeling in your gut where you just have to react. Like when you're in the middle of a fight and you end up saying things that you don't mean because 100%. There's just that emotional thing where you just get it out, and it's like I didn't even mean that when I said it. It was just that thing. I feel like in a lot of people is just permanently there. Because they keep just refreshing and reading another thing that makes them mad, and reading another thing that makes them mad, and reading another thing that makes them mad. Well, I'm going to fire back. Well, you're going to hit me. And it could be, I could be tweeting to you and being completely sarcastic or completely joking or just saying something that I know is going to get under your skin just because, because we're having a laugh. But you... because you're in this state of, I just read this that made me mad. I just read that made me mad. Now you're mad at this thing that I wrote. And so we're just all in this sort of highly emotional, illogical state of, no, but what I'm doing is right. It's like, relax. Just take a break. Give it some thought. Is it really that big of a deal? And relax.
Because it's about being right. It's this basic this desire to be right and this unwillingness to be proven wrong. So if you say something, this guy's terrible, he did the blackface or whatever the joke was that he did that was offensive, or whatever the statement was that they made at a rally one time that was wrong, or whoever they shook hands with at a dinner once, like, and if the person comes out and goes, nah, that wasn't what I was trying to say, or yeah, that was stupid, I shouldn't have done that, but it was, there's zero forgiveness, that's how you know the whole thing is based in a desire to punish. If half the times people looked at it reasonably and went, oh, okay, and it's meted out arbitrarily. It's not like, okay, any person who has done this will suffer this fate. It's not that. It is, yeah, you shouldn't have said that, you're finished. But how come he named himself after a guy that's had people beheaded? That's fine. There's zero consistency to it. It's the whim of the crowd. It's literally, it's Caligula. It's the thumbs up or the thumbs down. Either we, the crowd, decide that you live, or we, the crowd, decide that your head gets chopped off. There's no consistency to it. It is just a mob running left and right and swinging weapons at people and not admitting that they're doing that. I wouldn't mind it as much if people just admitted, fuck, it feels good to punish. Mm-hmm. Just admit that that's what you like, but they won't admit that. They always have the legitimate reason, so people get bogged down in arguing the legitimate reason. It's like, what are you doing? You're arguing the legitimate reason with somebody who really maybe believes what they're saying, but the underlying motive, because you've explained yourself pretty well and they still want to punish you, the underlying motive is to punish.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also weird. The underlying motive is to punish when people find like an old tweet, an old joke, something like that, like a behavior that wasn't, I'm not talking about, it's resurfaced, right? And I'm not talking about sexual assault. I'm not talking about crimes.
Yes,
I'm not talking about real harmful things. You're talking about, comments made, right?
Jokes or statements or whatever.
Jokes or statements, yeah. And you go, well, this person said this 6 years ago. And you go, well, what's he said along those lines in the last 6 years? Nothing. Just this 6 years ago. Well, isn't there enough evidence in the fact that he stopped doing this 6 years ago to tell you that maybe he agrees with you? Maybe he doesn't think that that's funny anymore. He's already stopped. Like, he's already corrected the behavior. What is your goal here? It's not happening anymore. What's the goal by pointing out a thing from way back then that has already been changed?
The goal is, again, it's just to punish, and yet nobody outs them. That's the best part, is that nobody is coming out and just basically saying, hey, I've said these things. It's always, you're a racist, or you're a sexist, or you're insert here, a phobe, something phobic. Nobody is ever coming out and going, hey, you know what, guys, I said this in my private life. By the way, though, this whole thing of these guys fighting cancel culture, I get it. And then a part of me is like, fuck you too. Where were you 10 years ago? Fuck you. Where were you a decade ago? Where were you when fucking Donald Sterling? Yeah, the guy's an asshole. The guy said some shitty things. But where was your objection when he was quote unquote canceled for saying shitty things in his house and being recorded? Where the fuck was when Phil Roberts, another guy I didn't agree with, a dickhead, anti-gay marriage, fuck him. However, he's got the right to feel that way. The guy from Duck Dynasty. Where were you defending him when they were coming after him for saying things that he believed that you didn't agree with? Where the fuck were you then? Now that what?
They
now
were
that
safe then.
They were safe then. But now that it's coming for intellectuals, now all of a sudden you guys object to it. Where the fuck were you 15 years ago? We've been talking about this. So, it's funny now to watch people, because it has a name, but it's been happening for a long, long time. And all the people who are now upset about it never complained about it. Never had a fucking word to say about it.
Yeah. And the whole petition, I think, is dumb. It's like you're trying to cancel culture, which in and of itself is a cancellation of it. Like you're just on the same hamster wheel as everybody else. What are you doing?
Yeah.
This doesn't do anything. It
doesn't do anything. If you want to stop it, you deal with the companies who are actually buckling to it. Like, the companies are the problem.
These are high-profile people. This is J.K. Rowling. This is, these are people that could actually go to these companies and say, hey, you've got to stop doing this. These are people that could go to companies, go to CEOs, go to bosses, and go, what you're doing is not right. You can't fire this person based on this. Like, to start a petition, like with all the power you've built, you're going to start a petition, and that should probably that's going to move the needle.
Yeah. If you want to stop it, how about this? How about you publicly begin defending people you don't agree with? How about that?
Ooh.
How about this? All the people who want to sign these, again, and I agree with what the change.org thing was, I guess, hey, stopping this. But again, it's a meaningless gesture. If you really want to stop it, defend people publicly that you don't agree with. Okay?
Yeah.
How about that? Defend fucking people who you think are dicks. Like, for saying things that you just don't agree with, but things that shouldn't, like, again, I don't want to, I've defended people who I didn't agree with. You have to. If you want the right to say what you want to say and to not have your life ruined for it, then you should be willing to defend other people's right to say shit you don't agree with. And none of these people seem to, maybe Noam Chomsky has done that. I don't know enough about him, but he seems like the type who is always willing to have the debate or have the argument. So I doubt he's ever tried to have somebody ruined for saying something he didn't like. At least I don't, from my knowledge, he hasn't. But that's how you stop it. Start defending people you publicly disagree with. It's easy to defend people we like. It's easy to defend speech you agree with. Big deal. Yeah. You're standing in an echo chamber. A bunch of people with Yankees jerseys on going, go Yankees. Who gives a shit? Do it in Boston. That's what you do. Go up to Fenway Park and scream, go Yankees. Defend people you don't agree with if you want to stop this. And again, I don't mean people that are wearing Klan hoods or people that are running around with nooses saying lynch people. I'm not saying a defend speech that you find violent and repulsive. But the Westboro Baptist Church is the best example of what makes us a good country. Is that we find these people repulsive, and they're repulsive, the things they say about God hating gays and soldiers being killed is a good thing because we defend homosexuality. They're repulsive people. But the cops go there and will defend their right to say that. To me, they're amazingly important for this country because they show how far we will tolerate free speech. So if you want to stop this ridiculous fake outrage, just begin sticking up for people's right to say things who you find repulsive. And unless they're calling for you to be violent against somebody else, unless they're calling for you to do something that is a criminal act. But if somebody is just saying things that you don't like or that are wrong, you shouldn't want them penalized for saying that because then the next person is going to come for you. But no one does that. Right.
Yeah. Define the principles and stand by those because I'm against cancel culture because they keep trying to cancel me is the easiest take you could possibly have. The idea that you're against cancel culture because they keep trying to cancel you that's not a thing. Like you're just upset because you're on the losing end right now. Like you're not doing anything.
Yeah, and if you step outside the mission statement of the ideology 1 inch, you're an enemy and you're finished. There's zero room for debate, zero room for dissension. You have sinned. That's all it's about. It is the base desire to punish people. And you know that because no matter how you say it, like J.K. Rowling's statement, I don't know if it's 100% accurate, if it's not. I don't know enough. When it comes to trans, I don't know 100% what the right answer is, what the wrong. I don't know. I don't know how to define it 100% accurately. I can't give you the proper definition. I don't know. Does it mean anything about me because I like trans? I don't have the answer to that. Sorry. I don't have the fucking woke response. But you have to be honest and say sometimes, hey, I just don't know what the right answer is. But she didn't say anything to me that was so egregious, and I don't think she was speaking from a place of being hateful. So if you can't say something that might be disagreeable without getting fucking run over and crushed, people could come out and, I don't agree with you because I think this. All right. Okay.
But look, who cares what the lady who writes about wizards thinks about any of this?
Exactly.
The fact that, she's got a platform and she's got influence, so she has to be responsible. the fault in all this is the people who go like, oh man, I don't know where to stand politically. Maybe I'll go and find the creator of Ron Weasley. Maybe I'll go and I'll figure out the wizard lady and I'll see where she stands on it. And then that's how I'll base my opinion. Like, how about we just sit there and we put things in the proper context? This lady wrote, if she had anything to say, she wouldn't have had to write 19 Harry Potter books. Okay, that's when you know that you got one thing going for you. You're real good about writing about wizard school. Other than that, none of it matters. So if she can think whatever she wants about whatever type of people that she wants, as long as she's not hurting anybody, what difference does it possibly make unless we're talking about muggles and wizards? That's it.
It shouldn't influence. Yeah, and that's the excuse. People, well, they have a platform. Take away their platform. Meanwhile, nobody wants their own platform taken away. I don't care what Jenna Marbles did. I don't find it necessarily 100%. I think that was a panic move. As opposed to somebody go, how about all the people demanding people's platforms be taken away? How about you go through the things in your life that you've said and then delete your own Twitter account? Well, how about you go through, personally, the things you haven't been caught for? How about you go back and find all the things you've said that were unpleasant and go, fuck, you know what? I've said some rotten things, and just quietly delete your Twitter account. How about you do that if you really want to help the... Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. That's not going to happen. I don't give a shit about what J.K. Rowling thinks about trans issues. I mean, I read it. It seemed like, all right, whatever. I don't know if I agree or disagree. I don't know enough about... I don't care. It doesn't change how I feel one iota. It doesn't move me left or right 1 inch. I don't give a fuck.
She's not a professor at a university teaching the youth. If your child is going to Harry Potter lady's Twitter account to figure out what's going on with trans issues, teach your child to not go to J.K. Rowling's Twitter account for that information. Get a book. Talk to a doctor. Talk to people that know. J.K. Rowling's.
It's literally, it's mind-boggling. Who gives a fuck what this woman says about anything? Like, you can read it out of curiosity, but it shouldn't move you left or right 1 inch. She's just a person making an opinion. Who gives a fuck? Who cares?
It'd be like taking dietary suggestions from Dr. Seuss. How would he know? Well, he's a doctor. He's got a platform. He's written books. He's a terrible author. He makes up words to rhyme with other words. I don't care if you could sell a lot of books about a thing that has nothing to do with what you're talking about. It doesn't make your opinion on other things more valid. It's ridiculous.
It's like on a less extreme level, the Westboro Church. Who listens to these assholes? These fucking assholes. Who listens to them and goes, good point. Most of us can hear what they're saying and hold it up and go, oh, what morons. Like what dopes to feel this way. But it doesn't change how I feel at all. They do nothing and look, there are people that agree with them, but the way to hash out those opinions is for people to be honest about it and discuss it, because people still have those opinions. They have them quietly then. And so you at least have the discussion, but people are now coming up with reasons why they don't want you to have the discussion. Why any rebuttal opinion in the discussion, or again, any step outside of whatever the mission statement is a sin and an act of aggression, and you must be punished. And that's what they're doing. And this, what exactly did this? I read I guess, I was reading more about Noam Chomsky, 91 years old, and they're trying to cancel him. I mean, believe me, the Grim Reaper will do that before you can. He's fucking 91. What do you think's gonna happen? What are you gonna cancel his Twitter? He's fucking 91. He was married to the same person from 1949 to, I think, 2008 when she died. Like, he's lived, as far as I know, a pretty good life. Ted Cruz had a funny tweet about the signs of the apocalypse, as I finally agree with Noam Chomsky, which is, I thought, that's how I learned about it. I was on Chip's Twitter, and I happened to see a Ted Cruz tweet, and I saw...
Does Chip follow Ted Cruz?
He does, yeah. And that was how I saw it.
That's hilarious.
So then I just read a little bit about Noam Chomsky. So I didn't actually read the exact petition because I really didn't care that much.
No, of course you don't care. I mean, the stuff that some of these people say about certain issues, there's no reason it should mean any more than the stuff the guy in the produce section of your grocery store says. If a guy in the produce section of your grocery store goes, I don't think the trans thing is real. You're like, okay, well, I'll have 3 apples. Like, that's, I don't know why we're talking about this right now. But you don't go to the manager of the grocery store. Well, I guess some people would now. But there's no reason to go to the manager of the grocery store and go like, hey, this guy in the produce section doesn't agree with me on the trans issue. Can we please fire him from the grocery store? I would hope. And that's to your point, Jim. That's when the manager of the grocery store should step forward and go, no, do you have your 3 apples? Well, then we're fine. Everything's okay. You'd be all right.
Well, the argument they make is, the difference is he doesn't have a platform. He doesn't have a platform. And when you have a big platform, you can say things that everybody else hears. And how about this? Stop being such fucking sheep who pay attention or respond to what somebody says on a platform. Like, I hear things that I find stupid every day. I read them. I see them. They don't change how I feel. Like, everyone gives themselves the ability to weed through bullshit. But yet we feel the need to speak up for everyone else who doesn't quite have the ability we have. We have the ability to see through it. See, I understand, but you. That's we all look at hey, I can see what this person is saying as nonsense. But the masses can't see it. So I will, because their platform, they're going to, why do you think they're going to influence other people if you can see what they're saying is bullshit? Why don't you think anybody else can see what they're saying is bullshit? Or God forbid, people can hear what they're saying and agree with them. And there's also, besides this desire to punish, it's a deep, deep down fear that their point is going to be lost. Like anybody who's trying to ruin you for your opinion, deep down is afraid of the debate. Because they're afraid that you might make a better point than them, or you might make them look stupid, or you might win and they might lose. Because again, when you look at somebody, Megyn Kelly, great example. And again, we all know that there were other things that NBC had going on. But her question about blackface, she didn't say angrily, I don't care how black people feel. I don't care about this history of a humiliating caricature. She didn't say any of that. She was asking a question about, isn't it, if you do an impression about it, it was just a question she was asking in a debate. And it was a question that a lot of people have. So to me, it was a great question to ask because then you're open for the rebuttal. You're open for somebody to say, no, here's why it's not okay. Because even if you're just doing blackface to do an impression of one person, it still taps into that history we have of a humiliating caricature for people who are being so there's an answer to that as to why somebody would object to it. Whether or not you agree with the answer is up to you. But there's an answer as to why it's objectionable. Whether or not you agree, that's your fucking business. But there's at least a response you have to immediately, get rid of her! Get rid of her! She asks the question, and it's like, do you, why is the question, or why is that point in a debate so upsetting? Like, if your response is a good response, you should love that question because then it gives you a chance to respond to it. It gives you a chance to make your point because whenever somebody says something publicly or has a question publicly, they're speaking for a lot of people's opinion, whether they know it or not. Most people who say something like Phil Roberts, when he spoke against gay people, I thought he sucked, but he has the right to say it because a lot of people feel that way. So if he says something and you respond to it, you're answering what a lot of people are. You understand? You're responding to the opinion a lot of people have. Forgive me for babbling, but you're responding to the opinion that a lot of people have. So if you shut that guy up, then there's nobody to respond to that opinion. And you have nothing to respond to. And there's a difference between asking a question or making a point in a debate and running around saying these people should have violence put against them, or you understand what I mean? You have to allow the opinion just so you can have the rebuttal to it. Have faith in your rebuttal. Have faith in your ability to communicate what you're. Don't be so afraid of being run over and losing the argument, and stop convincing yourself that you're right to want people silenced because America has a shitty history with a lot of issues. Because America's history, by the way, on the other side of it, is repulsive when it comes to people's rights. You know, again, this American exceptionalism we have, if you say that, then the conservatives come for you. Oh, America, every group has to fight. Every fucking group has to fight. to have the same rights as everybody else. There's something inherently wrong with that. Blacks had to fight, women had to fight, gays have to fight. These rights are never, the inalienable rights are supposedly given to every person, and yet every fucking group has to fight for these rights. So there's something very broken in the thinking of the country on both sides. And
now these poor these poor trans people have to fight the wizard lady.
But she's not a person of note.
She's got no power.
She's no power, and she's just expressing an idea that you could have a rebuttal to.
Yeah, I think that goes back to, and you've made the argument 100 times, but the wanting to have the conversation or not, because you're right. If somebody positions this question, well, shouldn't this, and a person could just turn around and go, no, I get you wouldn't see this because you don't experience it, but here is what this is. And then when you say that, the other person can go, well, that might be true, but don't you think that? And that's how conversations are formed. That's how they're built.
And you can't be so fragile. And this is everybody. They talk about white fragility, and they're right. White people don't like when you talk about white privilege. Oh my God, it doesn't exist. It's kind of hard to make the point that it's not a little more comfortable being white. And it doesn't mean that you think you're better than other people. But again, and what really drove that home for me, because I resisted the idea at first, because you know what? Every black friend I have has had a fearful encounter with the cops. Every single one. And I've never been afraid that I was going to be killed by the police or hurt by the cops. Never. I've never had that fear. So the fact that exists, I can't deny that exists. And I can't deny, and I know these guys. These guys are not criminals. These are my friends. These are funny guys. So if every one of them is telling me they've had this experience and I've never had this experience, the odds are there is something to be said. But I only came to that conclusion by listening to these guys who I respect. And by realizing, having a conversation and realizing, wow, these guys are not all sitting down. Let's make Jim lose. They're telling me what their lives are. So nothing anybody says about certain issues, it can make me think, and it can make me kind of reevaluate how I feel. And a lot of times I come down feeling differently. And a lot of times I come down feeling the same. Like I remember I was talking about trans girls one time, and I was on a
one time.
No, but this is in my private life. And I was on a train, and I was with a couple of fighters, UFC fighters, and we were talking about it. And one of the guys asked me, he goes, so they have like dicks? Like he was really curious about it, and I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, all right, cool. It was a really weird. Like there was no like fuck you fucking home. It was none of that. It was more like, what is this? I don't understand what this. And we just had a chat about it on the train. It wasn't offensive. He wasn't trying to embarrass. He was just asking a question. And you can't. But you be so also afraid.
You didn't turn around and go like, yeah, that's really not a proper question to ask.
No, because I would prefer that he ask it.
Of course.
And me at least have an answer for it. And whether or not he took that in a good, he didn't seem to care, and I didn't care how he took it. Like it didn't matter. The point being, you can't be so offended by somebody asking a question or trying to figure something out. We are all working through this shit, and then when you say stuff like this, people will take the most egregious offenses. Like, you know what, David Duke? All right. Do you have to take the 5% fringe when we're talking about the 95% who are not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to cleanse the palate a little bit with a please wear a mask fight?
Yeah,
I feel like that will probably bring us all down, all on the same page. In Florida, at a Costco, a guy arguing with an old lady about whether or not he should be wearing his mask. By the way, when you get busted in one of these, like, I'm gonna fight you, like I'm yelling at you in a threatening manner because I don't want to wear a mask. When you're wearing a T-shirt that says "Running the World since 1776" with a picture of America on it in Florida, it's like, with, by the way, flip-flops on, you're kind of like, okay, this might be 17 seconds of some of the most Florida stuff you could ever see.
Yeah.
This was at a Costco.
Of course
an old woman. Yeah, of course, right? An old woman. An old woman who honestly should have been minding her goddamn business anyway.
Well, she's old, though. She might be vulnerable to getting sick.
She might be, but you could also just stand 20 feet away from this guy. It's a Costco. There's lots of room.
Isn't Costco where that old lady had a tantrum the other day where she just sat down on the floor?
Oh, you sat down on the floor? I mean, look, the amount of hateable people in this country, the amount of hateable people, it's amazing how hateable people are.
Costco brings out the worst in people.
Yeah. It does.
It's a stressful thing. Costco's like the last grocery store left that still has a big line out in front of it. It's so overwhelming when you get in there. Portions are so huge. You don't know, like, if I buy all these apples, are they going to go bad before I get them? You're already stressed out about that. Everybody's got their masks on. Plus, you're in Florida, where you were pretty sure a month ago you had Corona licked. And now everybody's telling you, no, it's way worse here than everybody else. And you're like, what? I thought it was fake. What do you mean? It's a stressful time to be at Costco in Florida, is what I'm saying. And then you got old ladies coming up to you, trying to tell you your business. You're trying to wear your Running the World Since 1776 t-shirt, look cool, hang out. Get some, huge portions of condiments.
He wears his sunglasses on the back of his head too. By the way,
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, because you're not going to wear them indoors, but you don't want to lose them. So
he sounds like a bit of an ass. You know what we're forgetting too? Like, there's a lot of mental illness in the country, and some of these people are just like, some of them are racist and like just being pieces of shit. There are people like that woman who called the cops, that woman in Central Park who looked at the guy and made a decision. I mean, obviously there's something a little off on her, but fuck her, calling a fucking fake cry. You know what I mean? Like she's a cunt and she deserves to be fucking humiliated for that. But like the woman who just sits down on the floor like a 6-year-old, she's a mentally ill person. Like we act like these are statements being made by rational people, and some of them are not just assholes. There are people who are just mentally ill and they're fucked up, and phones are catching a lot of that now. But there are just crazy fucking people too.
I mean, I want to tell all these people, I want to tuck them under my arm and just tell them to take a break. Just everybody take a break. Mentally take a break. And when you take a break, don't start thinking about all the stuff that bothers you. Just take a break. Did you see
the video of the grown man who got out of the car in Missouri and punched the kid who was dancing in the face on the side of the street?
No!
Oh, of course you didn't.
Missed that one.
Everyone, of course. What a shock. Everyone missed that one. Boy, it's funny I'm not going to say a word about the media. Boy, it's funny. It's funny what they.
Well, a lot of this is
anyway. Let's just talk. We don't have to talk about it. I'm just throwing it out there. If anybody
media,
saw
it's just what's on Twitter.
No, it's the.
I'm saying
it's the media.
This thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. But I mean, in general, it's them. Let's. I want to hear this.
Yeah. This was a gentleman who, after getting into the argument with the old lady, a guy started filming him, and he doesn't like being filmed. He wasn't there to be filmed.
You're 6 feet away from you. You're harassing me. I'm not harassing you. You're coming close to me. You're coming close to me. Back off! Threaten me again! Back the fuck up or your fucking phone down!
You're right. When he turns around and you see his sunglasses on the back of his head, you're like, oh, he's a douchebag.
The beginning of the video, he just sounds like overacting angry Will Ferrell in an SNL sketch.
I don't have control over the volume of my voice. Back off!
Is this the guy who says, I'll put you on the 3,000 person Instagram? Oh, that's in May. Okay, I'm trying to find it from today.
I feel threatened.
Yeah, like nobody says that in real life.
No.
It's almost like
It's almost like he had his wits about him enough that he's like, well, if I say I feel threatened, then I can act in self-defense. It's like, that's not, you can't, you're bowing up. Like, you got your chest out, your arms are back.
You're harassing me. I'm not harassing you. You're coming close to me. You're coming close to me. Back off! Threaten me again! Back the fuck up or your fucking phone down!
You know what's the real shame of all that? He almost got out of there without a tantrum. They're literally at the cash registers. He almost made it all the way through his Costco trip without being a viral douchebag.
Just a jerk.
Almost.
This is where, like, regardless, like, when you hear this, you're like, you know what you need? You need Francis Ngannou working security in every place and then just walking up and a giant fist coming into the camera. Like, that's how that should be handled. But, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of angry. There's some are mentally ill and some people are just angry. We're just an angry we're just an angry country. Everybody is fucking mad at each other. And again, the underlying lie is that we run around acting like we're this great altruistic nation of people who love each other and who care. Why don't we just admit what angry motherfuckers we are? Why don't we just admit that we literally like to dig in and fight? That's who we are. We're not this country of reasonable people. We're an angry group. Just say it. It'd be so much nicer if it's almost like in a relationship. And trust me, when you're cheating and you get caught, you can finally have the discussion, whether it's to break up, whether it's to stay together, but it's out there. That's what we need to do with ourselves as a country. Stop pretending that we are these reasonable people standing on the right side of the issue and realize that we are 300 million self-centered little islands who want it our way or fuck you. That's what we want. And even when we're right, we don't know how to be right. There's a lot of people on the right side of the issue. You know, I've had enough of these Confederate statues, to be very honest with you. I don't care if they come down. You know what? The fact that these slave owners, maybe they shouldn't be honored. I don't care. The fuck do I care? Throw Columbus's statue in the lake. Who gives a shit? Because I'm sick of it. I'm sick because half the people who will go, this is like, you know, a black guy will go, yeah, but, you know, slavery happened. And a guy will go, that was 500 years ago. Take down the Confederate statue. But that's our history. There's no consistency in the thinking because the same people that don't want to hear the slavery argument are the same people who don't want to hear the civil rights argument are the same people who will defend a statue of a guy who died in 1800 like they give a fuck about him. They're just dug in on principle. There's no consistency to any of it. Fuck the statues. Who cares? Throw them in the lake. I don't give a shit. We're also investing in a Columbus statue. He was a fuck him. Well, you're Italian. You're proud of Columbus. If he was Irish, I'd still say fuck that statue. Who cares?
Don't let Sil and Paulie hear you. You know they don't like that type of talk.
That is what it's about. It's about the pride of other people who fell out of a cunt in the same country that my grandmother fell out of. I don't give a shit. I have no pride. People from Europe, or I don't give a shit where everyone fell out of cunt. It doesn't matter to me. I have no connection to you because you happen to be from Ireland. It doesn't matter. I have zero connection to you.
Nice language.
That's what it really comes down to. People care about Columbus because he comes from the same country that their great ancestors come. Oh, it's exhausting.
The Donald is banking on everybody being mad. I mean, he's specifically you could already tell his whole platform is kind of what you said, is not the well, we're all good people and we can all come together and blah blah blah. It's like, fuck these guys, am I right? And everybody goes, yeah. So we'll see.
Yes, but before we go to break, Trump is every politician naked. Again, I've said that for years. He is not different than Biden. Biden just says it different. The rest of these guys just say it differently. Trump is he can't hide it. He can't hide because he's too quick to react and too raw when he reacts. Statues are good. But these other guys phrase it nicer, but they're all banking on the same dissension in the ranks. They're all banking on the same anger that people are, but they're just trying to take the anger and the unhappiness and use it this way to their advantage. That's where they all they're all the same. They're all banking on it. Trump just can't hide the fact that he's using the anger.
Yeah, I don't see Democrats making a national statue garden.
I mean,
statue gardens are cool.
Yeah.
That's just such a ridiculous answer. I mean, it's like a national statue garden.
That's right.
Yeah, it's going to bring everyone together.
Why are we so afraid of looking at this fact, too? This is another thing that we're afraid of. Like, again, if a guy owned a lot of slaves, I get that he did great things. The Constitution, but you can't look at a guy who owned a lot of slaves and pretend he didn't know it was wrong. You can't look at that guy and not go, fuck him on some level. Yeah, I know that was the times, and it wasn't the crime then that it is now. And yeah, they considered black people 3/5 of I get it. But you can't look at that guy and go, He didn't know it was wrong. Fuck you. He sold off a guy's niece and didn't know it was wrong. Get the fuck out of here. That's something that even back then, that's because there was a civil war for it. They knew it was wrong on some level. You can't physically whip a person who you own and not think on some level that it's a little fucked up. You have to know on some level it's fucked up.
It's not really about the statues, though. Like, Donald isn't actually a pro-statue person. He just is smart enough to know that the statues are symbolic of people who are worried that their American way of life is changing and they don't like the change. So he's signaling to those people, don't worry, I got your back. I'm going to build a statue garden.
Yes, and those people, those are the people I'm thinking of more than even him with these statues. Like, yeah, George Washington, like, why not just, again, look at him accurately? Like, again, we don't need to find purity in people, but we also don't need to look at people like they weren't flawed either. Like the same whole idea of, you know how people are going around canceling and screaming and fuck you, you did a joke, you're evil, canceled. Well, the same mentality is in people who are protecting these statues. Perfect, purity, nothing wrong, father of our country. And it's like, no, you can look at him as a real person. He did a lot of amazing things. We might not be here if it wasn't for, but on some level, he did engage in a fucking disgusting practice.
Well, they do that when it benefits them. I mean, nobody's asking to tear down, Martin Luther King statues, but everybody knows how he was towards his wife.
Travis, Martin Luther King did not own any slaves.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And there's a difference. I mean, I would even take those guys in different because he was a womanizer. That you're right. He was a womanizer.
I mean, he did terrible things.
He was not a perfect person, but he didn't. Again, he wasn't on the level of slave. Like when you look at those two, he's a better comparison for other people who have said shitty things or who have been lousy spouses. But there was one school that wanted to take his quote off because I think he said something about all men being created equal, and it wasn't an inclusive quote.
Oh, sorry.
And they wanted to, well, not down there,
that's where
as Travis likes to say. But they wanted, one school wanted to take his quote off the wall because he said all men are created. It's like they're taking a 1960-something thought, quote, an acceptable way of saying something and applying it to today's standards.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's ludicrous. And that to me is a different argument than a slave owner. And you know what? The whole Lincoln statue where the subservient slave is back. Yeah, I don't mind them fucking putting a new statue up. Something that people, all right, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not invested enough in that statue.
Up anywhere. Like, statues are stupid.
Maybe, but I don't mind them, and I don't mind them occasionally. I'm not so attached to them either. There's very few of them.
Yeah, it's the thing, like
that I'm so attached to. Like, who gives a fuck about them? What do they mean? There's a statue of a guy I see on $1. Who cares? Fuck them. Who gives a fuck? Again, are we really dug in on either side? Do we feel that strongly about it either way, or are we just invested in being angry and arguing with each other?
I mean, I'll go to the National Garden of American Heroes and check out the Billy Graham statue, but aside from that, who cares?
That's dope.
Take the fucking Dixie flag off the missus. Who gives a fuck? Do we really need to see that? I know. I'm fine with that. Are
you all right with the Dixie Chicks changing their name?
I don't care.
The Chicks, you mean?
The Chicks?
Yeah.
The Chicks. The D Chicks.
How about the Dickie Chicks? And they all wear those little lobster bibs around their fucking or whatever. Oof.
Oh my God! You made a Dickie joke.
That's
a terrible decision. Wow.
It was a bomb. Let me say, I'd like to apologize for that joke because I'd like to apologize for classifying that as a joke because it had none of the workings of a joke. It wasn't. There was no humor value. There was no humor in sight. They were just words that came out of my mouth like diarrhea. So I'd like to apologize for that joke because it's.
Well, look, I'm actually very excited. Today we're going to get to talk to Andy Mulvihill, who is currently the guy who owns Action Park. I guess it's not Action Park anymore. It's Mountain Creek now, I guess. But he's the son of the guy who owned Action Park back in the day, the most dangerous amusement park of all time.
Ever. Do you remember those commercials when you were a kid?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I was watching a video about all the terrible rides that they had there. There was like a speedboat kind of path, except the river was full of snakes.
The place was amazing.
Yeah, it's so crazy the amount of shit. And then they said that like one of the things that eventually busted his dad, the video that I watched, we'll ask him if it's true, was they had to worry about insurance fraud.
Yeah.
Because he was like, there's only a handful of people that died and millions come through. So it's actually a very low percentage. And then the EMTs had to be like, no, we're treating between 5 and 30 people every day at Action Park. Like to the point that his dad actually apparently bought the town ambulances because he was using them so much.
I'm actually curious as to if the dad had insurance too, because there was a big scam about him. I guess we could talk to the guy about this. I bet him owning, he owned the company that he claimed was the insurance company or something offshore. Like it was some probably not most honest business move.
Like he owned his own insurance company?
Something like that, but I might be misreading that. So I would like to ask, I'll ask the lad when he calls in. Oh, and just to update, hopefully Chip will be on TBS this Sunday. I don't know. He's furious. I know that Chip has been lobbying TBS very hard and embarrassing himself outside the TBS building. And Chip's Patreon has been a tremendous amount of fun. So thank you to all the people supporting that.
Yeah, there's literally no reason to think that he wouldn't be. Unless he just doesn't get voted through. Like the results of that contest will be announced on Sunday.
Yeah, but
I believe they teased him on Sunday too. This last Sunday.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
So yes.
I didn't watch it. Then he made a mistake. He was outside of the TBS building, causing a ruckus, and so apologies then.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Very badly fractured.
That's right.
His son, I think, does the afternoon show and might have done some stuff with them on that morning show. But Mike and Mike was their big show. And then the two mics broke up, and one of the mics went to ESPN TV. And the other mic stayed on the radio with Wingo. And now the mic that's doing the show with Wingo, that I don't want to say Golic anymore.
No, not at all. Just say Wingo and obviously Paul. I know. Another stinker.
McCartney.
Yeah, Paul McCartney.
Just fun wordplay. Yeah. Just some fun wordplay.
Yep. Terrible.
So that mic is leaving, and I think that the other mic is coming back now to radio.
To do it with this guy Wingo or no?
I don't know. I think Mike and Wingo is gone completely.
No. Was he bombing or did he just not want to do it anymore?
Oh, it's not his choice. It looks like it's ESPN's choice, I think.
ESPN canceled its flagship morning radio program. I don't even want to say it.
Yeah. You can't.
Golic and Wingo.
Perfect together.
While bringing Mike Greenberg back to the medium in a vast reshuffle.
What are they doing?
They don't know.
All of a sudden they
figure it out.
Is there a problem or was it their ratings? They're just out. They're just gone.
Yeah, they're just trying to figure out. They're trying to get something that sticks again. Mike and Mike was very successful.
Hugely successful.
But they didn't like each other.
They didn't like each other, and I think Greenberg really wanted to go to TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just TV, because their show was on. I'm pretty sure their radio show was on TV. But I think he just wanted to do TV. But now
the TV show.
He's going to.
This says the TV show had bad ratings, though.
But he's going to keep doing it.
Yeah, but maybe ESPN wanted to get their money out of him.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like the TV show wasn't panning out, and they're like, you're not going to be a big TV star, but maybe if we put you back on the radio, we can recoup some losses.
Oh, I see. He's not taking over the morning show. Okay, he's doing his mid-morning TV program, Get Up, which he has helped anchor since 2018.
What time does that go? Because his show is from noon to 2, his radio show. What time does that show?
His new 2-hour radio show is noon to 2.
You know how much they must be paying him for that? To add an extra 2 hours a day to his schedule? I mean, they must have...
Well, they freed up some salary.
What are they doing?
Yeah. They opened up the cap.
What are they doing?
I don't know.
Oh, here's what they're doing. The new lineup will provide sports fans informative and engaging content throughout the week from hosts who all have radio experience.
Oh, cool. All right.
Perfect.
The statement is, hey, these guys have experience.
I was worried it would be vague idiocy. Thank God that they've narrowed it down to people who understand where the headphones go and the microphone. Thank God. Radio. Important stuff.
Right. I think that's actually the people say, what does faction talk mean? And that actually is our motto, too. It's informative conversation with people who have experience in radio is faction talk on Sirius XM.
Oh, here's the replacement show.
Yes.
They just said that they have experience in radio. Former NFL player Keyshawn Johnson, NBA analyst Jay Williams, and SportsCenter anchor Zubin Mehenti will replace Gallic and Wingo.
What's wrong with Gallic and Wingo?
Well, it probably was too easy to say. This new show is Keyshawn, Jay, and Ruben.
What?
And that's
Keyshawn,
on
Jay,
6
and
to 10.
Ruben.
I like Jay Williams. I mean, he's great.
I think we've
Keyshawn
had
Jay?
him in, right?
Yeah.
You mean Keyshawn J. Williams?
No. That's the name of the show.
Is there a comma in
Keyshawn,
there?
Jay, and Ruben.
Keyshawn J. and Ruben?
Yep.
Is that one person?
Yeah, that's right.
His name's Keyshawn J. and Ruben. Is that right?
No, man, it's 3 separate names. There's a comma in there.
Oh, well, there should be 2 commas.
It's not like Gallic and Wingo.
Who's Ruben?
Ruben is...
Ruben Kincaid.
Oh, I loved him. What a great agent. Got me a lot of good gigs. Is it Ruben Stuttered?
Doing, dude.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's Ruben and Clay in the morning. It's Ruben Stuttered and Clay Aiken. And they're going to come and they're just going to give their opinions on the hits. I think Sirius XM should fire the morning mashup and bring in Ruben Stuttered and Clay Aiken to host the morning show over on Hits 1. Ruben and Clay in the morning. The morning idols.
I wonder why they're doing that. Were they doing terribly in the morning? Is he just difficult?
I don't think Gallic is different.
I'm sure it costs them much less.
Maybe. Were they getting shipped because they had so many white people on the network and they're just shaking it up?
I don't think ESPN has an issue with that.
Maybe they were like,
I mean, they have a pretty diverse lineup.
Yeah. Okay. We get 2 very expensive people or 3 less expensive people.
But was
let's
their
do the
contract
3.
up?
More is better.
Mm-hmm. But was their contract up, or because
it says they were
very
canceled?
Abrupt?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
It said canceled. So
right.
Yeah, so I don't think so.
So that doesn't sound
middle
like
of contract. Yeah. How does that happen? How do you just get your contract? Are they paying them still? That's what doesn't make sense. Not the fact that their contract ended and they got new blood in there, but the fact that they're just so abruptly something happened. Maybe something happened there that we're not aware of.
Yeah.
How are their ratings?
Who, Gallic and Wingo?
Yeah. It's a terrible name, but how is their ratings?
I don't.
I'd say
I don't pay attention to radio.
Strong.
Ratings. Strong? You'd say strong?
To quite strong.
Oh.
Hey, do you think? I don't know if you read any of the Johnny Depp trial stuff. But
no, but before we move on, it said, I'm looking at an old article, morning ESPN host, this is back in November, Trey Wingo wanted off of Gallic and Wingo. So that guy, maybe he's very difficult.
Or maybe Gallic is tough to work with. That's the second co-host that doesn't want to work with this guy.
Yeah, that's
you said that guy. I thought you meant Wingo.
Oh, no. Meaning Gallic. Maybe he's very difficult. Mike, I don't know. Maybe Mike is difficult because Wingo.
Maybe he is difficult.
Saying wanted off his spot, and that was from November of last year.
Yeah, it sounds like he's difficult. That's my prediction.
Yep.
Not anymore.
Well, he's gonna be difficult to somebody else.
That's true.
Nobody in that building, though. Shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, I was. The Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. Is going on. So, all the details are getting out now. And Amber Heard is a beautiful woman. But Johnny Depp said something that I feel like even Amber Heard, I don't know how attractive. You will have a different opinion than me, I'm sure, Jim. But Johnny Depp claimed that Amber Heard, or maybe it could have been one of her friends, but probably Amber Heard, shit in his bed and then said it was a prank.
I remember reading that a while ago.
I feel like that would be too much for me. I don't know how hot you'd have to be that I could laugh off feces in my bed.
Well, believe me, I've had the same complaint from a woman. It was crazy. You know, she's shit in my bed, but then complains I didn't pay her. So yeah, I understand these things.
Yeah. It can be tense.
If it happened, she might have been fucked up. You fall asleep fucked up, or she went to fart and was too embarrassed because she's hot and she's never had to explain shit on the bed before.
It sounded like a shit. Like not a shark, but a full-on shit.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, didn't you say that that's what led him to divorce her?
Yeah, he's like, I can't. I mean, I would do the same thing, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it was just a little skid mark. I think she dropped a shit on the bed.
Maybe she's antisocial. She seems difficult.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what Golic was doing. He kept shitting on the floor when he didn't get his way.
Yeah,
like Vito's kid.
Wall
Yeah, I don't know, but I do feel like it makes me side with Johnny Depp. I'm like, I don't know how much you have to love the person you're with. I don't know how beautiful they have to be. If their idea of a good prank is to take a shit in your bed,
they're awesome. That person's awesome.
I mean, for me, it's over. That's where we part ways.
She's difficult. He's difficult too, though, because I was reading some of the testimony where he was saying that I've always tried to go and collect myself. But yes, that one time in the hotel, it's like, come on, it was a fucking volatile shit relationship. You're both assholes. It's between both of you. But I do with that audio of her saying, "I hit you." Remember that audio, Johnny Depp?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a lawsuit. What papers is he suing? Is it the Daily Mail? It's an online. I forget which one it is.
No, I don't think it's the Daily Mail because they're covering it. Like
maybe not. But who is he? The Sun?
I think it's the Sun. Yeah,
it's one of those British tabloids, and I love it when those fucking shit companies get sued because they just think they can say whatever they want. And they said wife beater, like a wife beater, like Johnny Depp. And that's actionable. That's like, if it's not true, that's a fucking, and now they have to defend this, cause he probably wants a lot of money so they couldn't just quietly settle.
And all the shitty information is out there. I mean, no pun intended, is out there now anyway. So it's not like he's not going to sue them because he's worried that the details would come up in court. Now everybody knows the details. His wife shits in his bed, even though Johnny would like you to believe that he likes to collect himself and not get too angry. Maybe at one point he got all fucked up and cut his fingertips off on accident. Who knows? Things happen. Things happen.
It's the Sun.
It's a $50 million lawsuit.
He still has no fingertips, Johnny Depp?
I think they showed
He cut those motherfuckers off.
Yeah, well, he's done every drug known to man.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you cut your fingertips off. That's cool for him. I don't know. Those two seem unrelated to me. I mean, I guess you could, as a result of. I don't think he's done them all at once. And I think throughout some of the drugs,
you
could.
Fear and Loathing?
That was a film based on a fictional portrayal of another person. He's an actor.
Okay, all right.
He's also not a pirate.
You win again.
He's suing her too. Is he suing her?
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
for 15. That was the one. I'm sorry. That was about a month ago. The motion to dismiss, I believe, was denied by the judge. By the way, someone's got an echo. I don't think it's me this time. There's always a weird, like the motion to dismiss is just something that they do. It's something that they file. It's a standard lawyer thing, hoping to get it thrown out. And I'm sure sometimes it works, but this time it did not, which I guess means now they go into discovery, which is where it gets expensive.
What will we discover?
$50 million discovery.
Discovery.
Sounds cool.
$50 million lawsuit.
I wonder if in Discovery he'll go like, "Oh yeah, well I have the shit stained sheets to prove it."
Yeah, what do you do?
She's like, "Well, I got your fingerprints all over this," and he's like, "Joke's on you, bitch! I cut them off." Like, okay, Johnny. Yeah, you can't go into court and say, "Well, I tried to be the logical one in the relationship." And then the judge goes, "Sir, where are your fingertips?" And then you go, "One time on accident, I cut them off. I was all fucked up." We've all been there.
Also, my wife shit in the bed.
Also, but you have to understand, my wife shit in the bed as a prank. That's Amber Heard. That's her right there.
What a relationship. Jesus.
I know, and how long it lasted. Although, to be fair, the court papers did say that it could have been one of her friends also. It was either her shit or one of her friends' shit. We don't know for 100% sure.
Was she, hey, is how much is he suing the magazine for? Is he suing her and the magazine, or is it two separate lawsuits? Because he's scored a win over her a month ago, but it was in Virginia. So this is in London. So I guess it's two separate lawsuits for her claiming abuse. And he has her taped where she's calling him a baby, saying, I hate, like, it's terrible fucking audio.
This is just for the newspaper.
How much is he suing them for?
Don't know.
Is there a way to find out? Because I'm wondering.
Yeah, there is. I didn't see it in this article.
Okay. Yeah, if you can, because I'm curious as to why they didn't. If maybe they didn't know he had audio when he filed the suit.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm always interested in these type of lawsuits, especially now as information is thrown around so much. And to watch a paper like that, it's like, you guys should know better. Like, this is what you do. Like, the National Enquirer has been sued a bunch of times, and they've lost a bunch of them too. But, for them, they sell more papers, and it makes it worth it. But I think every once in a while, one comes along that makes it not worth it. Like Gawker Hulk Hogan, even though that wasn't for libel, and it breaks the back of the company.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it destroys him. No, like,
that
we didn't see
libel,
that coming.
Still, yeah, they didn't see that coming is right.
Yeah. Do you think he's really taken every drug known to man?
Well, I mean, he's probably being figuratively expression, but he's taken a lot, I'm sure.
Troy, you're going yes?
Oh, he's run through them, I'm sure.
He has, yeah.
You think he's done bath salts?
I'm sure everything. Like peyote, he's gone out into the desert and been fucked up on peyote for like weeks at a time, and everything. I'm sure he's done it.
It says admitted to having used cocaine, ecstasy, LSD, mushrooms, cannabis, and then calling them the only thing I found to numb the pain. Is he talking about the emotional pain or the pain that goes through your body when you cut your fingertips off? He's denied having a nasty, angry side.
And that's
even
as
he was confronted about having trashing a New York's Mark Hotel in 1994.
Yeah, he goes, that's when I let my anger get the best. Just look, you're a dick too. It's okay. You're Johnny Depp. You're amazing. And you've had some demons. Doesn't mean you're a wife beater. Doesn't mean you're a fucking wife beater just because you're an asshole sometimes. He probably does. I'm going to guess he has a substance abuse problem. And I'm going to guess that at times makes him very unreasonable and volatile. Doesn't mean he beat up his wife.
And sometimes there's shit on his bed.
That's not his fault, though.
No, it's not his shit. No, it's definitely not his fault. There's nothing he could have done about that. It was a prank. It's just a little. It was just a goof.
It doesn't say. It doesn't say how much he's suing them for, but I don't know if courts in the UK are different. Like, maybe you can't sue monetarily. Maybe he's just like suing,
and then they give money after or something. Then you can ask for damages. Oh, okay, maybe.
Maybe he's just pissed. Right. He's probably pissed too that he's not. They're making all these new Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and he's not in any of them. They keep making. They're like
mentioned.
Yeah, we're making like 3 of them at the same time. He's not in any of them.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. He's saying that damaged him. I think was saying that, and he's not in any of the reboots. Who's starring in his role?
Nobody. I mean, nobody's going to play Jack Sparrow. It's just going to be.
Oh, it's a totally different.
Margot Robbie playing some pirate, and then they'll put her in the in the ride at Disney.
Yeah, like Margot Robbie gets her own movie, which is totally separate from the rest. It's just also a Pirates movie.
Yeah,
and then I think the franchise is either continuing or getting rebooted. Like there's a separate franchise that is part of the other movies coming up, but they are not going to have a Jack Sparrow, I don't think.
Yeah, and maybe there was a small part for him that was supposed to be in it, but then they changed it. Like, I don't know, but he seems to think that there was. They haven't denied it or confirmed it at Disney.
That kind of ran its course.
Yeah, I mean, you got to feel so bad for him. He only got to do like 150 of them, so it's really unfair. It's really so tough. Like, I hope he really invested some of his money because you're supposed to just be able to be a pirate forever.
And like, they weren't all good. Like some of them were like the first one. They were like, yeah, that was really cool. Like, and then the second one was good, but then some of them were just.
Once you get it, like, I'll give you the trilogy. I'll give you the original trilogy if you want. I don't even think I saw the third one. But if you're sitting there going it's fine. I'm not mad at the first 3. But if you're coming at me and saying I love the Pirates of the Caribbean, it just starts to get really good at the fourth one. I'm like, you gotta get out of here. It's like, you gotta take a walk. Well, Fast and Furious is a little different. After Tokyo Drift, everything kind of comes together. Yeah, yeah.
How many were there total?
180.
I think our guest is here.
Okay. I think
180.
You did the math.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, there were a lot of them.
And then they started 6 or 7, I want to say.
Yeah, they became like high budget Saw movies. I guess 6.
And our guest is here.
Yes, Andy Mulvihill is joining us. Of course, he is the legacy of the original Action Park out there in New Jersey. We were talking about it a little earlier on the show about what Action Park is and everything, and we've talked about it before on the show. It's so fascinating that it actually existed. Do you look back? I mean, you must have been a kid when a lot of the controversial stuff was going on, but do you look back on that going like, I can't believe the business my family was in?
I grew up with it, so it's kind of like it was like secondhand nature to me. I mean, I started when I was 13, 14, building the rides and then operating them, and just saw the whole thing expand. And it was a blast, man. I mean, it was like, I think I'm a fortunate guy to have had that experience. I mean, so many different types of people that I met, the crazy inventors my dad brought around, the fun we had. I mean, I used to open the park at night for my friends, and we'd go in there and just have a blast. And the other thing is, when I was 18 and the drinking age was 18 at that time in New Jersey, my dad decided to build a brewery. Guess what?
Perfect.
I never ran out of beer. Ever.
I have to ask you though, were all safety protocols followed?
Well, look, the whole idea was to give people a thrill. You got to understand what Action Park was, right? It was something that no one had ever seen before. I mean, really the theme thing was there's nothing in the world like Action Park. I mean, in one day you could drive a race car, speedboat, a tank. You could go bungee jumping. You could go down a toboggan. You could go on a water slide with a jump, or even a water slide with a 360-degree spin, vertical.
Cannonball loop?
You control the action. You're the one that was the destination of your own, expectations.
It was the Cannonball
Bro,
loop.
I saw a video of Cannonball Loop. That is absurd. Cannonball Loop. It's like this super steep tube that starts up way high, pretty thin, and it just goes all the way down. It does a loop-de-loop, but I don't know that there was a ton of engineering that went into it. It was just like, look, you're going to be going super fast. I'm sure you're going to go through the loop-de-loop. Apparently lots of injuries, and then it spits you out on the other side.
I actually have the engineering right here.
He looked his thumb.
So, hey, now, look, you got to understand, my dad was an American pioneer. He was creating a new industry. There were not companies you could go to like today to buy water slides. So he had to invent this stuff, and the Cannonball Loop was certainly one of his crazier inventions, and it was not a lot of fun. It really was a ride more to survive than to have fun on.
You went down it in hockey gear, and did you get hurt at all?
No, I often would test the rides for my father, and I was a hockey player, so I'd have hockey equipment in my car, and he'd say, all right, we're going to test that one. I'd say, give me a minute. I'd go put all my hockey stuff on, and I felt pretty invincible in that. So going the first time down the Cannonball Loop, I was the first human being down it. They sent a dummy before, which came out without its head, so that wasn't good. But I got up in the thing, and I looked down this really steep tube, and it was pitch black. And I was like, I don't know, man. If I was like, go ahead, jump in. So I go in, and I get a lot of speed. But then when you hit the vertical, it's like your stomach gets pulled through your mouth. And then you're up. Hopefully you stay up on the top of the loop, and you don't come down on the other side of it. And when you come out, you don't know where you are. It's all like disorienting.
When you're in the top of the loop, how do they keep it wet? Like because it's water, so it's sliding you down, and then you come up. Does it get dry at the top of the loop before you loop back under?
No, what they did is we ran little tubes that were embedded in the mat with little holes to shot water out to keep it moist.
Okay. And how high was the loop?
So,
it was probably a good 30 feet high. I mean, it was something. It was really something. And we actually made the loop tighter. And initially, it was really big, and it was a problem where people would. So imagine a tube, and you're on the top of the tube as you're going through it. But if you don't have enough momentum, you can fall from the top of the tube to the bottom and smack your face. So what we did is we tightened the loop so you'd have even more momentum going around, not as less momentum. And it made it a little bit better, but we still didn't get it perfected ever.
I like that it was just you guys, though. It's not like it was a bunch of people who had studied physics and understood gravity and propulsion and stuff like that. It was just like, well, if we made it tighter, you'd go quicker, right? Yeah, I think so. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, my dad wasn't really into projections and big studies. He's like, he saw something and he thought it was cool. He's like, let's try it. And it ended up creating an amazing place that people love to come to.
How long was the loop actually open for? Didn't that close relatively quickly?
Initially, it was open. It was probably open for a couple days, if that. And then it was closed for a long time. Then he tried it again. It was probably open for maybe 30 days, 40 days, something like that. And we ended up closing it down.
Someone would get hurt.
You have a book out. It's called Action Park, Fast Times, Wild Rides, and the Untold Story of America's Most Dangerous Amusement Park. Because it really was. And I mean, this is the park that Johnny Knoxville's movie is based on. What was your favorite nickname for it? I heard Class Action Park and Traction Park.
Slaughter World was a section. Water World was called Slaughter World. Motor World was called Murder World. I mean, there was every sort of nickname that there was.
The Grave Pool? Didn't they call it the
Grave Pool? Yeah, I've heard that one too. So they've used them all, that's for sure. But you got to understand what my dad was trying to do. He wasn't trying to just strap you in and spin you around like every other amusement park. You were in control. And he kind of took the idea of skiing and applied it to an amusement park. If you want to go on the bunny hill and go slow, you can. But if you want a real thrill, you go up to where it's steep and where there's moguls or trees, and it's thrilling. But there's risks associated with that. And he was okay with having people take some risks, as long as they knew what they were getting into.
I know the lawsuits began to pile up. And can you explain the insurance? Because I read about the insurance. And what exactly was the insurance fraud that he got in trouble for?
So, if he had been leasing the property from any private individual, he would have been fine, but it was the state of New Jersey. And so what he did is he had a paper insurance company that he set up. Part of the lease was he was required to provide insurance. And so he effectively set up a paper company and self-insured himself, because what he found is the premiums that he had to pay ultimately were so expensive that it was cheaper to just defend the suits himself and pay settlements himself. And it was interesting, what he learned to do to really manage it is, as soon as someone would get hurt, we would interview them and find out what happened. And 9 out of 10 times they'd say, oh, I didn't follow the directions, or I was messing around, or I wanted to jump on my buddy's head. So a lot of stuff we got knocked out right away. But we often won the cases. So he was a little too aggressive in his approach with the state of New Jersey. They didn't like what he did, and they went after him. There's some political things around it. But look, he was a guy that didn't believe in checking the box. He never took no for an answer, and that was part of the reason he was so successful. He was like, we're going to do it, and we'll figure out what they need for permits later. That's what he was.
That's pretty genius, the idea. So, because I'm trying to wrap my head around how and you probably couldn't do it today. It's a more litigious society. It's just everything's more difficult, I think. But so the idea is that the whole premise is that you can go in and kind of ride how you want to ride. We're going to tell you, here's what you should be doing. Here's the safety protocol. Here's the rules. But there's nothing that straps you in. If you don't follow those rules, you don't follow the rules. So when people that are used to going to amusement parks that are just like, well, I could jump on my friend. I could jump on his head. And then you get hurt. Well, you're like, well, there was a thing posted here that said don't jump on your friend. So if you jumped on your friend, that's kind of on you, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you summarized it very well. If you really want to give people a thrill, sometimes you need to push the edge a little bit to get that thrill. And certain people can handle it, some can't. But you look at it, it's silly. You think about the Tarzan swing ride that we had. It's a rope where you stood on a platform, you swung out on the rope and dropped into the water. Kids do that all over the country in lakes and in rivers. We happen to have it at the amusement park. And guess what? We'd send 1,000 people down it, they'd be fine. But you get one guy with a bad shoulder, he dislocated. Or you get somebody with a bad back that landed funny, they'd hurt their back. And even occasionally somebody that had nothing wrong with them would go on it and they'd get hurt. Does that mean that we should not have had the ride, a simple ride like that? I don't think so. But what's really crazy is, that thing was there. It survived after we sold the place, a couple more owners. And just like 2 years ago, the state of New Jersey, after 40 years of it being there, said, "Oh, it's not safe." 40 years later, it's crazy.
Do you know offhand how much the premiums were for insurance? Do you have any idea? How much
they were probably at least $1.5 million, maybe $2 million a year.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was especially in 1980 and 1985. Yeah. That was expensive.
Yeah.
Is it true that the water was so cold at the Tarzan swing that somebody took it and then they had a heart attack and died when they got in the water?
That one is the sixth death apparently, and I've never really heard about that. I mean, I just heard the rumor of it. Yeah. You got to understand though, we had all sorts of people, 10, 15,000 people on a weekend on a day, and just walking up the hill, people would have a heart attack. Just sitting in the heat, somebody might have a stroke. And frankly, you were probably better off for that to happen at Action Park because we had EMTs right there and we could treat you. So was the water cold in the Tarzan? What it was is originally what my dad did to build that ride in the Cannonballs, he just dammed up a stream that came down the mountain. And so it was mountain water and it was pretty cold. And it was in the shade though. Ultimately, we ended up making pools, but it was in the shade. And since it was in the shade, it was a lot colder than the other water. So that's why.
Wow.
How popular were you, by the way, at 18, bringing people in to get drunk at the park? I mean, you must have, the fucking girls must have loved you. That must have been awesome.
I have no complaints. The good news is my mom raised me right, and I was more of a dater than a skirt chaser. So I just usually would have one girlfriend that keeps me out of trouble. But I did like to drink beer, and I like to drink beer with my buddies, and I had a lot of them there at the park, and we would work like slaves all day, just reacting to various crazy things, pulling people out of the water by the hundreds. End of the day, we'd be exhausted, and my dad, he loved having these festivals, and in like pretty much every weekend there was a festival, and we had this huge fest house tent, and like I said, he actually bought a brewery from Germany, had it taken apart, put together here, and he had German craftsmen make the beer. The hops and barley came from Germany. The only thing American about it was the water. So he would make this beer and serve it at these festivals. We'd get done with work, be exhausted, probably dehydrated. We'd have a couple of those big steins. Man, it was fun.
So that was one of the things you did. You had to pull a lot of people out of water and stuff like that. Was it because were people jumping in drunk? Was it because they didn't realize that they couldn't swim? Like, why did you have to have so many rescues?
Well, I think we're a park that attracted people from an urban area. And so a lot of people that grow up in the cities don't get the chance to learn how to swim or to swim much. So we had a lot of non-swimmers and poor swimmers that would go into the water and take their chances. I mean, you wouldn't believe some of the things I'd hear from people when we pull them out. I'm like, they'd say, how deep is that water, sir? And I'd say, I wouldn't even tell them. I'd say, it's over your head. Don't go in. You'll drown. And I'd turn around and the guy would jump in and start drowning. And we'd pull him out. I'm like, what are you thinking? And he says, I figured the lifeguard would pull me out before I drowned. I mean, that's what went on all the time. And the first weekend we opened it, right? It's probably the second wave pool in the country. And, they give you an instruction manual. I mean, they don't tell you how to really lifeguard. We open it up. And after like the first day, we've pulled out like 50 people. You usually pull out as a lifeguard, maybe one person a summer. So these guys, these guards were pulling out 6 or 7 people a day. At the end of the day, they were like shattered. And I had to do something to get them to come back the next day. I'm like, come on, it was just a crazy group today. We'll figure this out. It got worse the next day. And it became a real badge of courage and honor to be a lifeguard at that wave pool. You had to be a heck of a good swimmer and an attentive person. It was quite a crew.
How much was the park making? Like, whether it was daily or weekly, like at a peak, say 1981 when it was really hot. How much were they making?
That was always hard to tell because whenever my dad made any money, he just built more rides. He was not in it to make money. In fact, this is just one of many things that he did, and he really never made much money in it. In fact, he used to have other businesses. My mom used to say the only reason he's got the other businesses is so that he can put money into the park and build more rides. So I don't know. I mean, we would do between the skiing and the ski area, 1 million people a year, $25 per cap. So I don't know, $25-30 million of revenue, something like that.
And that's it. But then there's the expenses and everything that comes with it underneath.
Yeah. So it wasn't something to get rich. If you had a great ski season, you could do really well. If it was a hot, dry summer, you could do very well. But, the weather could really screw you up. And certainly a bad lawsuit or two.
Hey, the speedboat pond that you guys had, were there really snakes in it?
Oh, God, yeah. There were. The way he built it was a swamp that he dredged out. So it was just like, and he didn't dredge out the whole swamp, just a part of it. So there were like snapping turtles and big black snakes and water moccasins, and they would turn up from time to time. And it was part of the natural experience, man.
Right.
Is that the
part
ride
of surviving. Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, so the yellow tubes. What were the yellow inner tubes? What was the name of that ride? I was watching footage of that, and everyone's just on inner tubes bumping into rocks, and it just seemed like there was so many potential injuries on that ride. Do you remember the ride I'm talking about?
You're probably talking about. We had three rivers that we built, artificial rivers, and on two of them you go down in inner tubes, and the third one, which we called the Colorado River, you went down in a raft. But those rides, I don't know if you could tell, but we had like a secret advantage over any other water park in the country, and that is we used foam. Imagine like a wrestling mat that you would glue to the concrete and then put vinyl over it so it was slick. So when people would fall out or bump their head on the side, it was soft and you wouldn't get hurt. The problem was it was expensive and it was a real bitch to maintain. So
wouldn't it also be? I mean, I would imagine that would make it extremely slippery too.
That was the idea. You wanted it to be slippery.
Yeah.
I mean, you
right.
Be standing up in that tube. You should have stayed in that tube the whole time.
I was watching footage of people like getting out of their tubes and rafts and stuff so they could kind of straighten it out as they went. And I'm just like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? I mean, the way my father designed the place so it's like, imagine he took like the side of a mountain and built this huge grotto, and then they put all rivers around it, and there were no fences around any of it. So like, if you were a wild kid from New York and you saw your buddy going down the river ride, you could just launch and jump on top of them. And they did. They would do that all the time. Or like, we had the cliff jump. We had 2 designated areas you could jump from, but somebody would like just jump from some other area to like try to land on his friend. It was insane.
Yeah. I mean, I also saw that like the cliff jump was it went out, but it went out into a pool. So like you could hang out in the pool, or you could you didn't have to get out of the pool after the jump, which meant that people could get jumped on all the time.
Well, we control it. We didn't let the next guy jump until someone got out of the way, but they could stay along the edge. And then if they were jerked, they could all of a sudden try to swim in to create a problem. The funniest thing about that thing, though, was, so you imagine this huge pool and like cliffs all around it, and there's just hundreds, if not thousands of people there. And you would get up. There were only like two jumps, and you would get up there, and everybody in the place, if you made a little bit of noise or did something to stand out, everyone in the place would be looking at you. And if you like chickened out, because if you're like on the edge and you're thinking and you're like getting chicken, the crowd would start screaming, and they were unmerciful. They would torture people. They just yell all sorts of things at them. It was really very entertaining at times.
How high was the cliff jump?
Oh my God, it was scary enough. The higher one was probably, 25, 30 feet.
Oh my God.
What was the ride with the metal wheels that you tested and there was a problem with the glue going down a hill.
I was fortunate that I didn't get to test this one, but this was a crazy story. There was a guy named Ken Bailey that had the idea of taking a man and putting him in a ball, and so it's a chair and a ball, right, with a trapdoor, you get in it. And then that ball was inside another ball where there were ball bearings between the two. And so the idea was you take this big giant ball, you put it on a track and send it down the mountain, and a guy's inside sitting in a seat. Hopefully he stays upright and doesn't get twirled all around. I think that was the theory. But anyway, the guy has this idea. My father says, yeah, come on, let's try it. And, he didn't have any plans. It just had an idea. So he came up and he built the thing, and the track was made out of PVC pipe, which he glued together, and he would run it up the mountain, see if it worked. If it didn't, take it apart and go a little further. And finally, he had the whole thing done, and it was working. We were running the ball down. It seemed to be fine. So we were going to open it, I think the next day, but the state inspector had to come up. So he came up, and he was late. It was in the mid-afternoon, and it was the first day that it was really, really hot. So the guy gets this test pilot, Frank, gets in the ball with the inspector there, gets in it, starts down, everything's looking good, but then all of a sudden the PVC had expanded in the heat, and the track just falls apart, and the ball, rather than going back and forth, goes straight down the mountain. And it's almost hits the inspector. He dives out of the way. The thing goes down through the parking lot, miraculously doesn't hit any cars, across the highway, and down into that swamp where the snakes were. And thank God the guy Frank wasn't hurt, but that ride was another one that didn't quite make it.
Didn't get off the ground.
Oh, awesome. It's awesome. So would your dad would he just come up with something in his head imagine he'd look at the side of a mountain and go, well, imagine if we had a track and we could put somebody in a ball and we could just have him going down that way. Would he just come up with these ideas, or was there somebody around that was giving him ideas, or how did that process work?
It came from everywhere. Some of them were his ideas. He would go, though, there's an amusement park convention that still goes on today in Orlando. And he would go to that convention and he would just scour through it, and he'd find a guy with a little booth with a crazy idea that no one, would consider. And he'd say, hey, that sounds good to me. Let's give it a shot. He'd travel around the world, Asia and Europe. He found the Alpine slides when he was over in Germany. And he would just, if he liked the ride and he thought it was the right thing, he would just say, I'm in, I'm buying it. And no big studies, just he had a good gut instinct for what would thrill people. And he was fearless, man. He would try anything.
Was there something that he decided to build, and then all of a sudden halfway through it, now this is too dangerous, we just can't finish this?
Well, the cannonball never really made it. So, we closed it voluntarily. The volleyball didn't make it. There were two other rides that never happened that were insane. One was he called it the death dive. And it was a really simple idea. You would build a super high tower and you would jump off. And if you'd be going vertically at first, and then very slow, ever so slowly, there would be a wall would start to come in so it would catch you. But the thing is that you would have to build it so very high that it was impractical, because you'd have to have it so slight. If it just came in real quick, you'd slam down it. But if just the idea of ski jumping, as long as it's on a slant, you could do it. He had that idea. And then the other idea, his buddy Stan Checketts, who he's partners with, the guy that invented the platform for bungee jumping, Stan wanted to shoot people out of a cannon using pneumatic air. What you see the clowns do, he wanted to shoot them the length of a football field with no nets underneath them, and either land in water or a net. And he told my father, and then even after my father died, he was trying to get me to go in with him in Las Vegas and put it in. And he's like, I guarantee you I can make it work perfect every single time. And Stan was one of the few real geniuses in the business. He had a massive roller coaster company with my dad that they got into after the action park days, and which was hugely successful. So when Stan would say he could do it, I would believe him.
How would that have worked? Would it's pressurized air, or your feet on a platform that pushes you forward?
It was. I think that's the theory. Yeah, is that you would just get pushed out of a tube. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Was that a phone?
That was I'm on my wife's computer, and that was her phone.
Did you? I heard that. Is it true that you took the go-karts and you put like you tinkered with the engine, so instead of going 20 miles an hour, they went like 50?
Oh, we did all of that stuff. Are you kidding me? I mean, anything you could do that you shouldn't do, we did. I mean, standing up, going down Surf Hill, zooping up the cars. Some guys took the cars on the highway and drove them to a bar. These weren't street legal they were race cars. It was crazy. We would open the thing up in the middle of the night with all of our buddies. There was the Surf Hill was a water slide. Imagine like a giant slip and slide with lanes, and the lanes on the far side had a jump, and so you go down on your mat and you hit this jump, and it was a really steep landing, and with big padding but slick with that foam again, and so you really couldn't get hurt. And the jump was adjustable. We never had it up that high until at night. We would go and we turned it way up. And I had one buddy come out from Stanford, and he was a crazy dude. And we had it all the way up. I'm like, Adam, don't go all the way to the top. Only go halfway. If you go to the top, you'll die. And I turn around. He starts from the top. I'm like, oh, my God. Somehow he survived. Boy, but though when he landed, he bounced like another 10 feet in the air.
And you
probably didn't get hurt because he was so drunk at the time.
And you couldn't do any of this stuff today, probably. Why do you think so? Do you think the inspections are just different today, or what do you think would have happened today that would be so much different?
Well, first of all, you would have to find another Gene Mulvihill who would have the guts and the will to pull it off. And I don't think there ever will be another Gene Mulvihill. So if you could find him and he had the inclination to do it, you're right. We've been regulated out of our minds. You can't do anything fun anymore. It's funny, though, we were kind of a bit of the precursor to the X Games and these extreme sports. So it goes on. It just doesn't go on in amusement parks anymore. And my daughter, she's like a downhill mountain biker and a rock climber and an out-of-bounds skier. She does all this stuff, but not in an amusement park, that's for sure.
Right. So how do you end up back in control of the park? Because after you guys lose the park, it becomes another company buys it. It becomes Mountain Creek. I feel like they try to completely wash away any association with Action Park. We're not dangerous anymore. We're not anything like that. But somewhere along the line, you regain control and you bring the name back. You eventually had to change the name back again. But how do you end up in control again? And was it something where they were happy to give it to you, or did they want to keep it out of the Mulvihill name?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. So the company that bought it was a company called Interwest, which is a big ski area operator and real estate developer. And when they bought it, they wanted to keep the Action Park business going, but they wanted to build a big ski village. Originally, they were going to do it on top of the mountain, but they ended up doing it at the base of the mountain where a lot of the park was. So they had to get rid of a lot of the rides in the park just to create space for their development. The other thing is they were trying to sell condos for $600,000-$700,000. And it's like, do you really want to have a condo next to an amusement park where all this crazy stuff's going on? They thought not. And so they got rid of all the crazy rides and really tamed the thing down. They had the place for like 10 years. And then the company had been leveraged up. The real estate market crashed, and they had to sell some of their assets because they had multiple resorts like Action Park in the ski area. So they're like, hey, you guys want to buy it back? And we bought it for like peanuts. And I'll never forget when my father says to me and my sister that he's going to buy it back. I'm like, yeah, that'll be fun. My sister's like, no, don't do it. I don't want to go back and run that place again. But, he said, yeah, I probably won't. But, of course, he did it. And so we took it back, and I think we had it. The water park was leased out to a third-party operator. We disengaged from them after a year or so, got sued. And then when we decided to bring the name back, Action Park, to try to come up with something to give it a little bit more pizzazz, because it was doing like a tenth of the riders of the attendance that it used to. We tried to put in some other rides, but everything had gotten so restricted. And there was so much competition, so much more competition today than there was before. But ultimately, my sister and I, after my dad passed, decided that it was in our best interest to sell our interest to one of our partners and focus. We have a resort right down the road called Crystal Springs, where it's kind of like an adult action park where we've got 6 golf courses and we've got a world-class wine cellar, like one of the best restaurants in the state. And so that's what we're kind of focused on now.
Yeah, but if it were like an adult action park, it would be like, here's this beautiful golf course, but there's landmines, so just watch out.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. I guess it's an adult. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with the book. I mean, it's fascinating, and I spent hours watching action park videos. I remember from when I was a kid, so it was just kind of interesting to go back and watch the old commercials and the old video footage, and it's a very, very interesting story.
Well, thank you so much. In this day and age of COVID where people are like locked away, I promise you, if you grab that book and jump into it, you will be taken back, and all this COVID stuff you'll forget about. And it's a wild ride. You can get it on actionparkbook.com or any of the major sites, Amazon, etc. So, hey guys, thanks so much for having me on.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, man. It was great.
Yeah, great talking to you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, buddy.
Andy Mulvihill. The book, by the way, is called Action Park: Fast Times, Wild Rides, and the Untold Story of America's Most Dangerous Amusement Park. I really can. I could read about dangerous amusement parks like all day.
Yeah, because we're looking at it through the lens of today, which is all the insurance and the lawsuits and all that stuff. And when you just see the things that they did, it was just fucking crazy. It's insane that they did that. And he insured himself.
Nuts.
I mean, I guess financially it made sense, but I guess $1 million or $2 million a year is a lot if you're making $25 million and $1 million is in premiums. I mean, that's a lot of money.
We're going to take a break. Still got a lot to unpack. Thank you to Andy Mulvihill. Stick around. We'll be right back.
We'll be back with more Jim Norton.
Your dilemma with your dog.
Evidence of this. Every time he stands up during a break, the workers here, and I won't say who it is. If anybody wants to confess, they can, but they're exposed to the fact that he's wearing tighty whities and a t-shirt.
First of all, Sam, they're not tighty whities. They're tighty Calvin Kleins that happen to be black. So
nothing comes between you and your Calvins.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
Except a man's hand.
Do you? I mean, are you aware at all that? And I mean, nobody has said anything to me specifically, but I am sitting there like, I look at you, kind of flash your goods the way somebody does. Troy flashes his goods the way he does, where there's plausible deniability, but also it's not an accident.
No mistake.
No mistake there.
Yeah, this unfortunately may be the thing that everybody's going to have to deal with moving forward.
Why is that?
Well, because, I came back to New York. I go outside. I'm convinced that when I come back inside, I'm covered in COVID.
Sure.
I'm sure of it.
Okay.
So the second I get in the house, I have to take off all my clothes, and I just usually stay naked except for my underwear.
And just take an Ace Ventura shower.
Yeah, I shaved my head. I don't know if you noticed that, because I felt like there was COVID in my hair. It's just, it's been. I'm in hell. I'm in hell.
You're losing your mind, Troy.
How does
New York's doing well?
Yeah,
sorry, Travis. New York's doing well.
How does this even make sense?
You know what? Well, first of all, the area that I'm in, I don't know how it's doing well. I'll be honest with you, because it's the area I'm in, the Lower East Side, East Village I've never seen a homeless situation like it is. And there's just urine, there's shit all over the streets, and I go for a jog, and then you're just breathing in this disgusting air. And like every time I go for a jog, I'm convinced that I come back, I'm like, I got COVID. That's it. You know, so
then
and then just being outside in the grossness.
Off,
yeah.
Well, yeah, because I don't want to wear the clothes that I wore outside.
You know, I might be sick.
You know?
Better take my pants off.
Yeah, that is. It's kind of a cure-all. Have you thought at all about maybe you have like a pair of basketball shorts or something that you keep next to your desk, and that could be your COVID-free zone, and that could be your shorts that you wear to know these are the shorts that I wear when I don't have COVID. And that way I don't have to flash my goods to Kyle and the boys.
I will say this to Kyle and the boys. If exposing my underwear is offensive to anybody, I will be more than happy to wear some sort of indoor pants.
Indoor pants.
If that exists.
No one has complained.
Nobody's complained.
No, nobody's complained.
Nobody's complained. Nobody's complained. I'm just trying to get ahead of it. That's all. Just trying to make sure it's on the table. I don't want to have it not have been documented. Okay, yes. I see Kyle writes, "Do you, bro? This is the new normal, I guess." And maybe it is.
Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no complaints. It's distracting, but you know.
It is distracting.
Not in a bad way.
Yeah, no, not in a bad way. Nobody's saying anything bad.
Oh my God. It's so weird. They're low cut. They're bikini briefs.
No,
You're wearing
bikini
bikini briefs.
They're
bikini. They're definitely. I mean, Travis, you can see those are bikini briefs. Yes,
they are. Yeah.
Those are stylish bikini briefs.
Yeah,
I gotta tell you guys, they're comfortable. I get excellent support. You know, so it's like
support,
and you can't get the COVID in there.
No COVID. No COVID's gonna sneak in there. No COVID gets between Troy and his Calvins.
You're trying to be discreet when I get up.
You really freaked out about it being on. That's okay, but you're really freaked out about it being on your clothes?
Yeah, I am. It's just, I feel, when I walk inside, I just feel gross. And it's just sticky. And you know how the city just smells worse in the summer? And now with COVID, I'm convinced that it's in the odors that are in the New York City area. I'm convinced that it's.
What floor do you live on?
The 7th floor.
All right, so no one can just peek right in your window. You don't have to see guys right outside the window.
No, but I mean, you can see. I mean, I don't know if there's a glare on the window, but I mean, you can see other buildings.
No, but I mean, there's no guy going to come in your house from your window. You're safe.
Oh, no, yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Did you renew your lease?
No, it's up at the end of September. I'm not quite sure.
Look, I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah.
How many days have you been back here in New York from Florida?
Tomorrow will be a week.
1 week. You have shaved your head and given up pants because you think you have corona.
He's a Mexican.
Bro, yeah. Do not stay in New York. I'm not even telling you as a show thing. I'm telling you as a friend. It's really bad for you. Like you're back. It took you 5 days and you literally shaved your head and gave up pants.
Yeah.
You know, because you think corona is in my hair and pants. I got to get rid of them. Like,
as crazy as it sounds, it makes sense to me.
After moving back from the epicenter,
you were there. You were in. You escaped Corona. You got out of it.
But there's open space. You're not on top of people. I walk down the street. Half the people aren't wearing masks. I'm telling you, there is no homeless person is wearing a mask, and they're coughing and they're urinating and they're defecating all over the streets.
The piss and the shit is bad.
I'm breathing that in when I walk by. Yeah. It's just shit everywhere. and let me tell you guys something. It's a miracle that New York's numbers are going down. I don't know how that's possible. There have been 4th of July parties. There was big DJs DJing parties in Long Island City. People are on top of each other. There's no social distancing. There's private parties in nightclubs that they're not telling anybody about. It's invite only. People are on top of each other. I have no idea how it's not.
Maybe it will go up, Troy. It might.
I told you my prediction. I told you watch July 18th, 2 weeks after the 4th of July. I told you would be phase 2. You also can't be thrilled about all the shootings.
No, I'm afraid to go outside. I'm not kidding you. When it gets dark, I don't even want to go outside.
Wow.
Right. So you've become an agoraphobic man who shaved his head and wears no pants in 5 days.
Bikini briefs.
Bikini briefs, yeah.
What?
Dude,
I mean, it's a record backslide.
He's not handling this well.
It's so quick. Like you have to know you got to know when to hold them, but you also got to know when to fold them. Like you're not a New York guy anymore. You're just not. That's fine. Take your records off the wall, pack up, Go back to Florida. I mean, what is your lady friend, your travel companion, think of the immediate decline of this person that she knows so well?
Well, she's kind of along with me, because we go jogging together, and you walk in, and she feels gross too. So we're kind of in this together. She doesn't come back and be like, "You're fucking nuts." Like you go for a jog and you feel like you're breathing the fucking COVID. So
is her place bigger than yours? Is her place bigger?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Is her place bigger than yours?
It's not, but her area in Brooklyn isn't all that great either. There's a lot of people aren't wearing masks there. She said about 50% of the people there aren't wearing masks. So
did she shave her head?
She did not shave her head. No.
Oh, okay.
She's just
okay. I'd be worried about that if I were you.
Shampooing. Yeah.
Oh,
Wouldn't that be funny if we both did?
Fucking Mickey and Mallory.
Yeah, dude. I think you got to find a spot. Maybe go back, hang out in your brother's house for a little bit longer. It seemed like you were having a good time up until the very last day. I mean, you were not. We talked to you on the last day. You were not freaked out being there. Not like this, anyway. You were wearing pants.
No. Yeah. I was going to water parks.
You had a little room, right? That's why you walk outside. You had room. You weren't always having homeless people confront you the second you walk out the door in Florida.
It's right. And, we'd go on a bike ride. There's a bike trail. You're far enough away from people. You're getting exercise. The sun is shining. It definitely feels good. I mean, Florida's a strange place. It has its own issues, but,
so do you.
I definitely felt more safe there.
You felt like you could distance yourself from people.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes think about that as you're sitting in your underpants with your shaved head, not going outside alone in your apartment? Do you go, Water Park Troy was only like a week and a half ago? Do you think about that? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what can you do? I mean, I'm here for the time being. I'm going to make the best of it. I want to be comfortable if I'm here. Right. I mean, I hope you're not offended that I want to be comfortable.
No, I want you to be comfortable. I don't think you're making the best of it because you shaved your head and have no pants on and you've locked yourself up in your apartment. So I wouldn't call that making the best of it necessarily. That's my opinion, But I mean, I think that a lot of your free time right now should be devoted to figuring out how you can get out of New York City and stay out. I think it's over. It's time. And you're an evolving person. You evolve a lot. I've known you for a long time. I think this is the end of the New York City era of Troy Kwan. I think we saw another side of you in Florida, and that side didn't scare me.
And this scares you?
I actually relate to this side more. I relate to this side, just sitting around fucking half naked, waiting for the whole world to end. I mean, I kind of feel closer to you now than I did when you were in Florida having fun. Shaved head, walking around in questionable underpants, gender neutral underpants.
Yeah.
I feel more connected to you. I feel like I understand that line of thinking a lot more.
Well, I think that should
say
it
about
all.
The COVID coming through.
What's that?
Right.
You're worried about COVID. You had the face protector. You got that.
Yeah, I did. I bought my face mask. I got my fucking little finger puppet. I got my stuff too. Yeah, I'm a little bit paranoid about it, and I have not let up. I still wear a mask when I go outside, and I'm still doing that stuff. So yeah, I understand. A little paranoid, a little nervous. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, are you just wearing a shirt just for us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I do want you to know.
If I wasn't.
You don't have to.
I'm gonna, yeah, okay. Well, that's good to know because I was a little curious if you guys would be offended if I wore a shirt. But I put on a fresh shirt, so just in case you guys are offended.
Yeah,
no. I mean, if you feel like I'd rather you be comfortable and not be concerned about this stuff. So if in order to just feel like yourself, you need to just be in your underpants, no pants, no shirt. You're not in the office. You can do that. That's fair. That's fair game.
Well, and to be honest, too, I did bulk up a little bit during quarantine. So
show it off.
Okay.
Not in a good way.
No.
Not muscular.
No. I was eating very well. Remember, I was having fried chicken every week.
That's right. Everyone got a little fat.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Now you're back in the city, and you were still Florida hot. You were still a hottie in Florida. So you come back to New York and you're back to seeing like everybody's skinny and in shape and the body image issues and stuff like that. I'm telling you, man, down to Florida, water parks, getting a little chunky, not too bad, just a little chunky, and not having to worry, but no shit and piss on the floor outside your place, you know? I mean, I'm going to be disappointed if you re-sign a lease. If you tell me, no, I'm going to stay for another few years, I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why. I don't know why anymore.
Well, what are the options to go where?
Florida.
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Florida. But then, if they say, it's mandatory to come back in the office, then,
come to
Shaolin. Job. I know that. I know, I do like working for the company. So
how about Jersey, where you can just be out of it a little bit, pay a better rent. You don't have to do it forever. Take a 1-year lease. And then if they make it mandatory, by the time they do, it's going to be a while, and they'll give you the option of staying home for a little while. And then if you have to commute in a little bit, all right, you hop on the fucking train and you come in. I mean, just do it far enough outside of the city where it's financially worth it for you, and you probably get more room than you have right now.
Oh my God, you will.
Yeah, that's an option.
You know where they got good. You know where they got good bike paths?
Where's that?
Some say the best bike paths.
Westchester.
That's it. Yep, Westchester. Yep, we're known for our bike paths.
Westchester stinks. You don't want to do that commute every day. It's too far.
Plus, you got to wear
pants. It's literally equidistant to Jersey.
No, it's farther than Jersey. It's further than Jersey.
It's 25 minutes.
I'm talking about on a train. It's the distance from.
There's literally a song
Jersey.
called 25 Minutes to Broadway. It's about Westchester.
I've been to both. Trust me, Jersey's closer. The song is wrong. Yeah, well, if wherever you move, get out of the city.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of hoping it bounces back. I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon, but
I'm more concerned about you bouncing back, to tell you the truth, than it. You know?
You think I'm on a gradual decline?
I mean, you're wearing 50% less clothes.
Gradual.
Yeah, I mean, it's
gradual. It's like an action park ride. It's just your fucking.
I was gonna say that this is the cannonball loop of declines.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
I mean, you did just ask if we'd be okay if you wore less clothes.
Look, I don't want to be offensive.
Which, by the way, the answer is yes.
So
it'd be totally fine.
I would be tempted to start popping Troy's camera on during interviews just to see some random guy.
Oh, yeah. You just pop it on when he doesn't even know. So he's not even, because when Troy knows his camera on, even if it's an hour and a half, he's going to sit there kind of sucked in and tensed up the whole time. But if you turn his camera on and he doesn't know it's on, he's going to be crouched over. All the rolls are going to be showing.
Titties are jiggling.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea.
All right. We got Mike Cannon tomorrow, which should be nice to have Mike back on. I haven't had him in a while.
It has been a while, yeah. I don't know if he's still in, he went out to Rockland County in the beginning of all this.
Right.
I think he might still be out there. I don't know for sure. But we'll find out from him tomorrow. I want to talk to him, and I want to talk to you, too, about all the, it seems like the comedians had like 2 weekends where it looked like comedy was coming back, and now it's all going away again.
Oh, with gigs. That's why I haven't even. It's probably the places like Florida and all these places. Yeah, I'll see where Mike is working. I'm probably going to have to push my Boston date back into September. We'll have to see if they're allowing even half capacity at that point. But yeah, I haven't booked anything for that reason. I don't trust that we're going to be on track, and I don't want to keep fucking canceling gigs and moving them. But, it'd be interesting to hear what Mike has been doing. So tomorrow morning, and hey, if you want to, Chip hopefully will be on TBS this Sunday, and the voting I think was probably good last week. At least it seemed that way on my Instagram and from messages I was getting on Patreon. So thank you to people.
I'm pretty optimistic about the whole thing, to tell you the truth.
I hope so. So. There's more ideas coming.
Somebody tweeted there was a tweet where Chip had like 30,000 views on a video. And they were saying that everybody else is kind of getting, a fraction of those numbers. So something tells me Chip is going to be moving up very well.
I hope so.
I mean, it's like a tiny fraction. It's like everybody else is getting like 200 views, and Chip has 30,000.
TBS
it's like
used it as one of their promoted tweets.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. They paid to have it promoted
on Instagram.
Twitter.
On Twitter.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good for Lyle. I'm happy that I'm happy that Lyle is doing something.
And hey, if you want to hear us breaking down cancel culture and everything going on with this world right now, if that's a conversation that appeals to you, maybe you stick around. Maybe you stick around through the break. You can hear all that. Maybe. Why not? What else are you doing, right?